Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit, clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say, so thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Captain's Log, day 7 of the great sports bar freeze out. Gino is wearing his knit cap once again. We are freezing in our own studio in the sports bar. We are freezing for the 7th straight day in a row.
So today we're trying something new. We're going to open up the door is open.
Leaving the door ajar.
Leaving the door ajar.
Yes. We're hoping that some of the hot air from the hallway, the heated hallway, makes its way into our frigid studio. It's affecting your mood. I can tell it's affecting your mood.
I'm okay with temps in the 60. I once had a landlord, Danger. The first apartment I owned, I can even tell you the building, the Grand Alexander, 268 Alexander Street, still is today. And the building owner at the time, heat is included. And going, there's no heat. So I ended up calling the city and getting this guy written up until it got fixed.
So you have experience.
Yeah, and I want to say it was it 59? If it dips below a certain temperature, somebody might know this. I researched it at the time, and it won my case. Like, here's the thermometer. Yeah, there's no heat here. I like this new landlord. Hey,
what temperature does it need to consistently be for me to contract pneumonia where I call into work for multiple weeks? Are we talking 50s, 55? That might be the next step. I don't know. I got pneumonia. How'd you get pneumonia? Working in a meat locker for 3 hours every afternoon. Gino, we could do this show from your mom's basement and be more comfortable. We could be like every other podcaster on the planet. And we would be more comfortable. It's freezing in here. Again. You went to the boss lady and everything.
I did not. I was just tweaking Derek.
Oh, you were?
No, you missed that.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, I was just, I'd like Derek. To Pizza Dude, it's on his plate, but he's not the landlord.
Right.
He can only tweak the landlord so often.
Right. Well, we got to get to the bottom of this. I mean, we were too hot in the summer. Let's get Airquip in here. Let's get our fantasy football sponsor in here. They know what, we talk about it all the time. You don't want to be too hot and too cold. We're freezing, man. It is chilly in here.
It's the Crossfield commercial, right? Heat. Your neighbors have it, and you can too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, wow. We should give them a call.
All right, we're gonna experiment. We'll leave the meat locker door ajar and see if we can get some of the warm air from the hallway to maybe bring the temperature up to a comfortable 57 degrees in our studio. What do you think?
I think so. Wearing the knit cap helps. Like, if you're watching right now, I look kind of silly, but you know what? It's a radio show first and foremost. I don't care what I look like.
If it keeps up, if it doesn't warm up at all, I'll go to the coat. I'll just wear a coat all day.
That's what Dandalorian did. He's wearing his coat. And
I feel bad for Dandalorian. I mean, like, that dude's in here for longer than 3 hours, and Dandalorian likes the safe space of this studio. He doesn't venture off as much as we do during the course of a show.
No, to the point where if you enter the studio while it's here, you better have a point. You're not here to chit-chat.
That's right.
Be on your way.
Dandalorian is all business.
Yeah.
Being the bounty hunter of the finest audio in the galaxy doesn't just happen without exquisite focus, which he has while he's here in our studio before we open up the doors of the sports bar. And we welcome you on into the sports bar. We're so sorry. We shouldn't start off by complaining, but it is like it's been every day.
Look, it's a relatable story where things you take for granted, first world problems, and part of me, and look, Andy, if you're watching today, I hope you are watching. One of my friends who from California. Like, there are places where, really? Like, you're complaining about it being 57 in your studio?
Yes. My house just burned down. Thanks. Everything I own, all of my possessions were just eaten up by a wildfire. But I'm really sorry that you guys are uncomfortable in your studio. You got a little perspective there, Gino. I appreciate it. It's funny you brought up your first apartment. I was talking to one of our guys, Frank, in the hallways earlier today, and we got on the topic of our first apartment. You know what it was? It was bathroom small talk. You know, and you're in the bathroom every now and then, you small talk.
Hey, I watched a game last night.
Well, it was funny because we, haphazardly ran into each other in the men's room twice at the same time. I'm like, well, we're on the same schedule, and we switched positions. One time I was at the urinal, the next time he was at the urinal, and I was making a comment about how the handicap stall is larger than my first apartment. And we just, from there, we started talking about our first apartments. And I remember going back to the first place that I ever lived when I was 18 years old in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and I was about to enter the University of North Dakota. So I bought an apartment just slightly off campus, and I made the mistake of visiting my first apartment maybe like 5-10 years ago when I was back there for a friend's funeral. I don't know how I'm alive. I really don't know how I'm alive. Like, I know Grand Forks, the mean streets of Grand Forks, North Dakota. This was a trash neighborhood. Who knows what was going on in some of these places, next door to where I lived in my first apartment. I look back now, I'm like, whew, wow. I don't know what I was thinking, or my parents had to have been worried sick knowing that that's where I was living. But, you had your place on Alexander that didn't have any heat. I had my place with probably a meth kitchen above me on the second floor. Yeah, we all make those sacrifices.
Humble beginnings.
That's
the
right.
Sports bar. Yeah.
Very much. All right, we've got a great show lined up for you this afternoon. We will go to the Mile High City. We'll check in with Cody Rourke and get the latest on the Broncos. He is the host of the Locked On Broncos podcast. Stopping by the Sports Bar 425 this afternoon.
Two things I'm curious about. Are the Broncos do they have like the Dan Campbell mentality of this is who we are, this is our identity, and this is what we're going to do? Because they like to blitz. They like to play a lot of man. And you know who kind of likes seeing that and can diagnose that real quick? That would be Josh Allen. And the Bills have running backs that know where to go. So do the Broncos, do they switch this up or we might be, oh my gosh, that's a concern, you blitz? No. Please, come on in. Sometimes it's the too high, but really Josh has been great against a lot of different defenses. Also, can the Broncos actually sort of nickel and dime their way down the field? Do they have a running attack that can take the game over? And looking at the stats, I would say no, but we'll go to the expert, Cody Rourke, My Highlight Sports, Locked On Broncos podcast coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, and Buffalo Plus stops by in about 15-20 minutes or so, and we'll talk about the latest happenings there in Orchard Park with Fatesy here this afternoon.
Yeah, and I guess the only concern is injury-wise, Brandon Codrington, and I guess he was out there for a little bit today. So, but the overall thing, like what could trip the Bills up in this run? Special teams. Like you kind of lump it in. And Tasker we were asked that question today, and sure, like any one play can swing a game, of course, in the playoffs.
I also saw Dan comment on something that may have crossed your feed. I don't know if you saw this or not, Gino. There's a really interesting, fascinating clip that's circulating today of Josh Allen talking about how he changed the mechanics of his throw. This is from NFL Films, and Dan made a comment on it. I saw it. I'm like, wow. It really is kind of remarkable to see, and he's well aware of it, obviously. He's talking about it to NFL Films, but what happened to Josh Allen from year one as a rookie to year two, to see his completion percentage go from where it was, which was, I believe, 51% in year two to 69%, all by changing his mechanics, by altering his throwing motion. And if you're a golfer, if you're any sort of professional athlete, what I'm going to tell you, it shouldn't surprise you. It starts with that hip. It starts with that hip rotation, your core, and getting that more involved. Because he was complaining after his rookie season, like, my arm, my shoulder, it hurts. Why? I'm throwing the ball too hard. In his rookie year, if you go back and look at some of his throws, I mean, he was putting a lot of torque on his arm and a lot of pressure on his shoulder, and he was getting it out fast. It was almost like his arm was a whip, and he was getting it out fast. And they kind of reworked, a specialist reworked his mechanics, and he started with his hip open. And really, the last thing you do is then your arm comes forward.
Mm-hmm.
But he says he visualizes a spot every time he throws the ball, and he knows that that's where it's going to go when he visualizes this. Really fascinating stuff, and I think it applies not just to somebody who throws a football, but somebody who swings a golf club or throws a fastball, whatever it might be. It always kind of seems to come from your core, from your hips, and whether or not you're able to explode with your hips.
I love those stories where athletes make an adjustment. Now, we all had high expectations, but the one instance in baseball that comes to mind, Jose Bautista, big slugger for the Blue Jays, right? He was a backup catcher. Like, he was literally kind of bouncing around, and all of a sudden he gets pulled aside and like, hey, try this. And then, oh my gosh, he must be juicing.
Yeah.
Must be. Yeah.
If you swing a baseball bat, it's the same thing. If you
Yeah.
swing a baseball bat, right? It starts with the hips, opening up those hips and getting that power and explosion from your core and your hips, that hip rotation. So I just thought it was really, really fascinating. And, you know, when he was drafted, and I think a lot of people were worried about this when he was drafted, he's not accurate. Can you coach accuracy? Is there anybody that can coach accuracy? Hell, this clip includes Troy Aikman saying, I always believed that there wasn't a way to coach accuracy if you were an inaccurate quarterback. Josh Allen proved me wrong, because to see the growth from year 1 to year 2, the largest improvement of any pro ever from year 1 to year 2, it's clear that whatever it was that they taught him, he took to it, he applied it, and he's never been that quarterback again. He's hasn't been the same since, which is fantastic news. But I just thought it was a really fascinating little 3.5-minute clip that Fates. We can talk to him about that when he joins us here later as well.
When we talked to Armando Salguero from Outkick yesterday, of course, he can't tell us directly, but I came away with the impression Josh Allen's winning this MVP.
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. In fact, you can have all the conversations you want, this versus that. You can make the case for Saquon, you can make the case for Burrow. Like, they're all deserving. Depends how you want to filter out your argument, right? Oh, statistically, Burrow. Well, look at the offense production of Saquon Barkley. Yeah, all of it. Yes. Allen is the most valuable to his team. If you took that guy away from this team, he is the most valuable player in the NFL. And
he elevated everyone around him on that offense.
what great players do. Absolutely right. And speaking of Lamar and speaking of the Ravens, you got news today that Zay Flowers will be out. One of his weapons there for the Baltimore offense will be out against the Steelers.
So, again, Danger, would you rather take the Ravens in the division? I'm sorry, we can look ahead. We're allowed to that. We don't play for the team. We don't use pronouns that we play for the team. We're just kind of observing. Would you rather take the divisional round being the Ravens at Buffalo, but that would send the Chargers out to Arrowhead and perhaps knock off the Chiefs, who have been susceptible, but still, they only have one loss that really mattered this season, that was to Buffalo? Or would you rather have the Chargers come here, but then Pittsburgh has to go out to Kansas City, and that gives Kansas City kind of a golden ticket right to the AFC Championship game, which, by the way, they would host?
I know it's not the answer. It's not an answer. I want the most gratifying and satisfying path available. I would love to hold off the Ravens and not see the Ravens at all, but if it's the Ravens, let's go. Let's get the Ravens.
I think the Bills could beat the Ravens at home.
I would love to see that. And I love what PJ said yesterday about his Ravens. The Ravens are front runners. If they get off to an early lead, now you've played into their hands. If you remember that Ravens game earlier this year. The Bills came out slow. Can't do it. Got to score. Got to put the pressure on them.
Do you remember something odd about that game? I do. McDermott received the kickoff. Like, wait a second. And it was almost like he knew we need to score.
Yeah.
And, well, what happened? Okay, they got a couple first downs. They punt. And, we got him pinned back. Okay.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, but that decision to receive, that rare decision to receive, you understand the wisdom behind that decision. You score against that team, you put the pressure on them, and historically, Lamar is not the same guy. That team is not the same team, and you're forcing them to do something that they don't normally do, which is come from behind. But no Zay Flowers, I think, is interesting. It's one less weapon for Lamar Jackson. The Steelers always play them tough. You could say, the last time they played, they got beat by 17 points. But it was it wasn't it was closer than the score indicated.
It's funny how things can change. If we're saying like right now is the high point for Joe Brady was getting roasted in that game for that call about the trick play.
Yeah, he got too cute.
Yeah.
I think when you're a young anything in any profession, you're going to make mistakes. It's great. Make the mistakes. Learn from them. Don't do it again. But I guarantee you, if he's smart and he's receptive, Sean McDermott probably told him afterwards, hey, why are we getting cute here? What are we doing? Don't do it again. Don't make the same mistake twice. So that I saw that injury bit of news cross my feed, and I thought that was worthy of note that the Steelers will be playing in Baltimore, and Lamar won't have Zay Flowers at his disposal in the wild card round.
There's another bit of news here. We did have another firing today in the NFL. Now, take a step back here. This was our conversation yesterday. This isn't out of Tennessee, but when we talked to Armando Silcaro, like, wait a second. Why do they fire the GM now and keep the head coach and you have the number one? He's like, doesn't make any sense. You're forcing a marriage basically between a new GM and a coach he didn't hire. That's not the way to do business. Did the Raiders get it right and listen to Armando by firing today Tom Telesco a day after they fire, or 2 days after they fire Antonio Pierce? Or is there something greater in the works here? Because it's a one and done for a GM. You rarely see coaches get one and dones, but not GMs too often.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Say what you're thinking.
What? I just who could possibly be a head coaching candidate that would want to have some say and some pull and put in his own personnel
You
people?
want full control of the football operations. Who could that possibly be? Belichick is not coming to the NFL. He's not. I know that there are reports, and I know that this appears. This gives you the optics. Hey, the decks are cleared. If you wanted to offer Bill Belichick full control, now you can.
Does happiness start at home?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go inside the mind of a 24-year-old Jordan Hudson. Would she rather live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or the bright lights of Vegas?
I think she'd rather live in Chapel Hill with students her own age. I think that...
Actually, she's just a little older, but
I think that that the Raiders are just. Well, I can appreciate what Armando said when we talked to him yesterday about shotgun marriages and the idea that a head coach would have to come in and work with Telesco, and maybe that's enough. But now you have the opportunity, if you're the Raiders, to kind of follow the template that the Bills did: hire your head coach, let him pick his GM, or vice versa. Let me throw this at you. Because everybody went to Belichick right away. Oh, wow. Now that the Raiders have done that, Brady can make a pitch and Belichick can come and coach the Raiders. And the buyout is the buyout. Whatever. It's $10 million. Mark Davis. Mark Davis is also still paying for Gruden. He's also still paying for McDaniels. He's also still paying for Pierce. And on top of that, he's going to pay Belichick and the buyout? Nah, not happening.
What would Al do? Yeah. All right, give me your idea.
Today we heard from Coach Prime. He said there's only one way he would leave Colorado for the NFL: if he could coach both of his sons, Shedeur and Shiloh. Now, Shedeur is a first-round prospect. He's going in the first round.
Correct.
Shiloh is brawny. Probably a guy that would have to latch on as an undrafted free agent, long shot to make a team, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
That feels more probable to me than Belichick coming to the Raiders.
I hope Dion doesn't do that, because I think Dion, even with the rapidly changing landscape of college football, Dion is a college coach, and I don't know when you can dispose of college players quickly and just bring in a new batch.
What's hilarious to me is that NFL teams would even consider it, considering he hasn't really won anything in college. Like, what makes you believe that he's all of a sudden this great coach because of what he's done at Colorado? He's done a nice job at Colorado.
Look, if the Raiders are being honest with themselves, here's one thing they're not. they're not relevant. If you're a Raider fan, I'm sorry. On the landscape of the NFL, unless you want to pop in an old VHS and watch Todd Christensen and Marcus Allen and whoever else, not relevant. This would all of a sudden make them, okay, bump aside Aaron Rodgers. What's going on with the Raiders today?
Yeah, you know what? I think I got to you, right? You like this idea.
Oh, I love it. But I'm just saying for Deion long term, it ain't going to work. It's the Raiders, dude.
Yeah, right. Right. Davis is like, yeah, look, I'm already paying my last 3 coaches. I just got rid of my GM after a year. We have to find some way to keep you in this position for longer than 5 years. Can we do that? Is that possible? I mean, we'll have Shador on the rookie contract for at least 5 years. Can we keep you here for 5? Can we get that? Because it would make them immediately relevant. It would make them must-see TV.
But how could you finagle this? Like, you're going to hire Deion. That would come first, correct? Well, how on earth are they? They don't have the number 1 overall pick.
No.
They don't have the 2nd. They don't have the 3rd. They don't have the 4th.
You have to move.
Okay, you're going to really have to pay a tax on that.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's great news if you're the Titans or wherever else is on the clock.
That's right. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. When I saw it, because we had heard Deion say all along, I like Colorado. I like the college game. I couldn't coach in the pros because it's different. These are million. It's not that different anymore. Some of these college players are making some good money, right? But he's always been steadfast about just being a college coach. To hear him say that the only way he would leave, the one way that he would leave for the NFL is if he had the opportunity to coach both of his sons. I didn't think that was a zero. I thought that was something. I don't know that he's going anywhere, and he ended it by saying, that he still loves everything about Colorado and Boulder and everything that they're building there. So chances are he's not going anywhere. But with the Raiders having this opening and with that opportunity being, maybe that's a conversation that's being had. Who can say? The Raiders also, by the way, interviewing Robert Saleh. Much like the New York Jets, I got a call from the McCaskey family. They've asked me to interview. They've requested interviews with everybody.
You son of a gun. You actually got me to check that today. I get a text from Danger earlier today. The New York Jets have completed their GM interview with Mike Francesa.
Who cares?
And it's clearly doctored, but you're sending me a screenshot with the check mark. I'm like,
who cares?
No, that can't be. Let me see before.
Let me just check.
Who cares?
They're interviewing everybody. Everybody gets everybody. When we said cast a wide net, we mean cast a wide net. We are going to cast a wide net. We're going to get the 2 guys that host a sports talk show in Rochester, New York, to interview for our GM position.
Well, here's what I would do. You're going to bring back Rodgers. You just improve the offensive line, bringing in Bakhtiar.
I'm sure Rodgers is going to want to get Bacteria involved, but you know what? Bacteria is a guy who has been ravaged the last couple of years by injuries. Who cares?
Bacteria. I said his name correctly. David Bacteria.
Bacteria.
You remember David Bacteria, that fine left tackle from the Packers.
Oh, man, that's so good. We got to get to Dan Fates, 13 Web Sports, Buffalo Plus. He'll be stopping by next. We'll talk about Buffalo Bills football as we get ready for the wild card matchup on Sunday afternoon against the Broncos. Practice report, injury report. We'll get to all of it with Dan Fates. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line this afternoon at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Welcome back to We the Hobby. You know what time it is? A little something special today. Oh, Nick.
Is that a corn?
That ain't no corn.
What?
That's a super corn!
Visit us at 23 Arlington Street in Rochester.
Payment, 0 due at signing, and 0 charge for rust proofing, paint sealing, and interior protection. Rochester, that gives you 0 reason to shop around. Don't wait because our unbeatable selection is going fast, so you better get down here and claim the color and options you want before your dream vehicle is gone. Hurry in now to any Vision location or go to our website and schedule your VIP appointment right now.
Don't miss one of the best home basketball schedules in years, featuring exciting matchups against Duke, North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia. Experience all the action at the newly renovated JMA Wireless Dome. Now with upgraded chairback seating and premium sections for an enhanced game day experience. Secure your seats today by visiting Cuse.com/tickets. Be part of the excitement of Orange basketball.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds, and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day, and nothing worked until Mark Patrick hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy, enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again, my blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Join Mark Patrick Seminar's Early Bird Special, only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings. That's right. Seminar Sunday, February 2nd, RITN and Conference Center in Henrietta. Weight Loss Seminar, 11 a.m. Stop Smoking Seminar, 2 p.m. Or Monday, February 3rd, Hilton Garden Inn, Pittsford. Weight Loss Seminar, 5:30 p.m. Stop Smoking Seminar, 8 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Bills, Sabres, Amerks, all on your favorite sports station. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. In my 12 years of practice as a reproductive urologist, I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS. It really wasn't easy before. You had to take time out of your day, come to a physical office, and see a specialist like me in person. Now, through HIMSS.com, you can get world-class sexual health care and a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. It starts with a free assessment from a medical provider licensed in your state who can determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. So don't wait. Join the hundreds of thousands of guys who've gotten help for their ED through HIMSS.
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Save on your New Year's car care resolutions with antifreeze, wiper blades, brakes, and more. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Now, Taxes is having a TurboTax expert do your taxes and get you every dollar you deserve. Get an expert now.
Update.
Bills' official practice report has yet to come out. Brandon Codrington, the kick returner, was out there at practice for the portion that was open to the media. Bills quarterback Josh Allen talking about the opponents.
You know, it's a team that came in here last year and they beat us. We know that. We understand that. It's a very good team. They're well coached. Their defensive line is one of the best in the league. They got a couple guys outside that can absolutely go. Obviously, look at Surtain, one of the best corners in the game. We're going to have our hands full.
Dan Bates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus to join us next here in the Sports Bar. Big night in college football, the semifinal, the Orange Bowl, Penn State facing Notre Dame. Tonight at 7 on the Fan, it's the Buffalo Sabres who look to make it 2 in a row. Buffalo taking on Ottawa. Red Hot Rochester Americans back home tomorrow night when they take on Utica. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Top shelf sports talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Bills Broncos, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock on the Fan Rochester. We welcome in Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, and Buffalo Plus. BuffaloPlus.com to preview the matchup and give us the latest out of Orchard Park, Dan. But I wanted to start with a video I know you saw, a lot of us saw it, crossed our feed, just what Josh Allen went through between his rookie and second year and changing up his mechanics, becoming more accurate, and doing what I think a lot of athletes know to be true, getting your hips and your core more involved in whatever that motion it might be, whether you're swinging a bat, throwing a football, or swinging a golf club. How are you, bud?
Doing good, guys. Yeah, I thought that video was fascinating. It's kind of that nerdy stuff that, you think about these gladiators that go out there and play football and get in, 50 car accidents in a game. And then you see the science that goes into how Josh throws a football. And look, his arm was touched by God to be able to throw a football as far as he can, and the rocket that he has. But to nail it down and to do the little details, to me, that's fascinating. When I went to college to play baseball, I pretty much got there. They said my throwing motion was messed up, and I spent an entire winter just holding a baseball in one position and trying to throw it from there. So that's at Division III baseball level, guys. He's doing this at the NFL level. It is fascinating. It was a really cool video. NFL Films put it out.
Yeah, as far as what Josh is going to be looking at this week in terms of a defense here, if Denver sticks to their MO, meaning, all right, they're going to blitz a lot, play a lot of man, isn't that what you kind of want?
Yeah, and I look at this game, it is a lot of strengths on strengths, meaning, okay, Denver gets after the quarterback really well. They lead the league in sacks. Well, Josh doesn't get sacked. Josh doesn't take negative plays, and the Bills' offensive line has been really good this year. So, do those kind of cancel out each other, or one of those things? And the man coverage thing is interesting to me. That allows Josh to run a lot more. Obviously, you're having linebackers and cornerbacks turn their backs to Josh. He usually sees that as a green light to go. We know how much he has run historically in the postseason. This is kind of go time. The thing that's fascinating is this, is Surtain and just how good he is. And there's no question about that. But who does he cover, guys? I don't think – when I was looking at these matchups going, oh, you don't want to play the Bengals, and you're kind of talking to yourself, if the Bills have to score 50 points against Cincy, they probably could do that because of how bad that defense is. And I look at this Broncos team, and I go, does Surtain cover Mac Hollins because he leads the team with 5 receiving touchdowns, or – does he cover Amari Cooper because he has, 10,000 yards in his career? To me, it's like when Trey White was really, really good and defenses, and he would line up, opposing offenses would just not even throw to his side of the field. It was just all right, we're just not throwing there. That's what I imagine the Bills to do this week and Josh Allen. Okay, Surtain's on the left side. Shakir, we're going to motion you to the right and snap the ball and throw it over on the right side. So it'll be a fun chess match.
We got Dan Fates on the line with us, 13 Web Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Talk a little bit about the full circle moment here for Von Miller, and this is the team that he won a Super Bowl with, and he gets to face them here in as meaningful a game as he's had as a Buffalo Bill. Von Miller versus the Broncos. Do we expect more than what we've gotten out of Von Miller? I mean, it's hard to imagine Von Miller at this stage of his career having a multiple sack game, but against Bo Nix, I guess anything is possible?
Yeah, the Denver's offensive line is pretty good pass blocking. They're not great run blocking, which is weird because it's kind of the same unit. And last year they ran the ball a whole lot more efficiently. So will Von get opportunities? Yeah. Do I have any expectations of a 1.5 sack game for Von? No, not really. But I think he will get the chances, guys, because I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I think that Denver's, we were talking to somebody on Buffalo Plus that covers the team out in Denver, and they were kind of like, last week was their Super Bowl, right? So it's not like they're going to come into this game and try and run the ball and keep Josh Allen off the field and, control the clock. They're going to come out and they're going to say, I think they're going to come out and say, hey, Bo, here's the ball 55 times. Let's go see what you got, Rook. We're playing with house money. Let's see what happens. So I think Von will have a bunch of opportunities in that case. I just don't know at this point. It is kind of a full circle moment, but I just don't know how much circling the quarterback Von Miller will do.
Yeah, Dan, we can look ahead here because we're allowed to. We don't play for the team. We just cover the team. What's the better path if we have a rooting interest? In other words, All right. If you get, and I'm going to base this on the assumption that the Chargers win, right? The Chargers go into Houston. Would you rather have the Ravens beating the Steelers? That means, okay, you do get the Ravens, but I would think the Chargers would give the Chiefs a much better game than even if the Steelers get by the Ravens. I don't know they're going to put up any fight there. What would you rather have in the second round as an opponent?
I think you're going to end up with the Ravens. If you're asking me, like, what would you want for, like, the AFC Championship game kind of thing, Gene?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that could set up the AFC Championship. I could see a formula where the Chargers could beat the Chiefs.
Gene's willing a championship game in Orchard Park is what he's doing right now.
No, it's absolutely absolutely. What the hell am I saying? It is possible, right? Like, it is. Crazier things have happened in the postseason. It just seems like Denver and the Steelers have just kind of been resigned to, these big underdogs in these games. And the Chargers, Harbaugh, this physical game, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. Maybe that goes into it. They have played them tough, but I don't think, for as good as the Chiefs have been playing of late, and I do think they have rounded into form like everybody kind of expected, I think they are vulnerable. Honestly, I think every team in the AFC is vulnerable, and there's 3 favorites in this horse race. The best case is that the Chargers do win against Houston, because I don't think Houston has any chance against Kansas City, and then you're hosting a championship game after you take care of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens at home.
What do you think is the biggest difference between last year's 2-seed Bills team and this year's 2-seed Bills team? We could say the play of Josh Allen has elevated year over year, and I would listen to that. But I'm looking at the injury report right now, Dan, and I think we all remember how beat up this team was going into the postseason. They had to fight and claw just to get to the playoffs. They get the 2-seed, but they were banged up last year at this time.
How about A.J. Klein, right? He had to cancel his vacation to come start in a playoff game and lead the team in tackles. That's not Benford was injured, Gabe Davis was injured, Poyer and Hyde were banged up. It's a war of attrition at some point, and right now the Bills are healthy. What stands out to me more is something that Rasul Douglas kind of talked about yesterday. He doesn't think this team has peaked, and that was like, what? Huh? And he kind of said, obviously they're still trying to figure some things out on defense. Right now, they're probably the worst third down defense in the NFL. On the other side, they're the best first down defense in the NFL. I don't know how you want to compartmentalize that. But you did see that Jets game, for a Jets team that still has talent and still has dudes on that offense, they were able to shut them out for 3 quarters. And I think that gave them a little bit of all right, okay. We got kicked around by the Rams. We held our own against the Lions. We gave up some points against Drake May early, but maybe we're figuring something out. Because last year, look, they had to win 5 or 6 in a row at the end of the year, and you thought okay, they're red hot, but it didn't necessarily pan out that way. So maybe this is the year where they're going, hey, we haven't peaked yet. We asked Jordan Phillips about it too. He's like, we're not playing our best football, and maybe that's part of what is we're going to hit it this next month. That's when we're going to start playing our best football. That, to me, that's an interesting mindset that I thought they had talking to the team yesterday.
Yeah, Dan Fate's our guest here, 13 Wham Buffalo Plus, which you can meet Dan in person tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit.
Look at that tease.
Absolutely, we're in the business, Dan. Dan, I love this, what Matt Perino put out earlier this week. If the Buffalo Bills are going to get to where everybody hopes they go to, all right, who is the player not named Josh Allen that we're all talking about?
Really good question. I will say it's James Cook. I think that for all the talk about Derrick Henry and how good he has been, and rightfully so, I think having a back that is a playmaker that can not only do it handing the ball off to him, but throwing the ball in the backfield, he has turned into a little bit of a home run hitter. And that's been a big boost. I was tracking it last week. I think 4 out of his last 6 or 7 games, he's had runs of 20-plus yards. That is, for as much, guys, as you know, I hate running the ball. I have vehemently been against it. But if you can punch a team in the mouth a bunch of times and you can run the ball in cold weather in Buffalo, it wears on you, right? Like there is some things that I always remember Chris Long talking about, like playing defense, that if a team went down the field and they threw 11 passes, they were all short dink and dunks, they went down the field, scored a touchdown, you'd come back to the sidelines and he'd go, we'll get them next time. Like, that was just a fluke. Like, don't worry, we'll adjust it. But if they ran the ball down your throat, he goes, you walked over to the sidelines like, we have no chance today, guys. Like, that is something, whether it's also Josh doing that as well. But I think James Cook can really be a factor in this playoff run and really kind of be the guy that you're going, hey, they're going to have to pay him. Like, running backs are maybe more valuable than we thought. And these three, man committee has been really good in Buffalo, led by James Cook.
Hey, Dan, what are your thoughts on the performance from last week of the secondary? I mean, it looked at times like they were just kind of taking plays off. Is that reason for concern when you factor that there's some speed with Mims and you've got an animal like Cortland Sutton who's back there with size and physicality playing wide receiver? The Bills' secondary against Denver, what's the matchup for you?
The matchup for me is probably Sutton on Rasul Douglas or Christian Bedford, whoever they want to play, whether they rotate it. Mims is probably going to be a guy that maybe Taron has to cover out of the slot, and Isaiah McKenzie-like guy with flash and sizzle. It was so hard for me to take that game last week seriously and try and not what am I going to do? Break? I think some of these guys, Kyer Elam's reps are in this game. Josh Allen was yawning in the fourth quarter on the sidelines. I was yawning as well. So this is going to be a test to see. There's a lot of pressure on the Bills. That's my main thing, guys, that I look at this. There's more pressure on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, but there's a lot of pressure on the Bills. And they've earned that pressure, and meaning in the sense of they had no expectations coming into this year. The Super Bowl window was closed. They don't have a chance to win the division. Well, now they've done that. Now they've proven that they're a really good team, right? They've earned the 2 seed. It wasn't kind of fluky, a little bit like last year, winning it on the final week of the season. They've had this locked up for a month, and they say it's just we're trying to keep everything as similar as possible, and it's just another game. Listen, you got to win this game, because for as good and we can talk up Denver and the people can say, is it the sexy upset pick? The Bills should win this game. They've got the better quarterback, the better coach, and the better defense, and they should win this game. So the pressure is what I'm looking at the most heading into this postseason.
Dan, this is certainly going to be fun. Bills and Broncos. I'm assuming you're going to take the Bills here, but what does Uncle Dan have to say about this line? At least last I was looking, 8.5.
Yeah, I like the Bills to cover. I think I have this game something like 30 to 17, so somewhere in that range, and I'm not sure where that late touchdown comes from. It could be a Broncos late touchdown not to care, or it could be a Bills touchdown to kind of put it away. Look, I like the fact that the Broncos blew out the Chiefs last week. I think that when they're circling the field, there is, it said that was their Super Bowl. Don't forget the fact for how good the Broncos can be, and they've got dudes on their team. I think Nick Bonito is the best defensive player that the casual NFL fan doesn't know anything about. He's a stud. He will be all over the field. But I look at this and I go, let's not forget that the Broncos could have clinched a playoff spot, guys, for about a month, and they didn't because they were playing really poor football. And then they play a bunch of backups from Kansas City, and they beat the snot off them, and they throw the kitchen sink, and everything's great. I like that. I think it's really hard when the guy who was covering the team says this was like they won their Super Bowl. It's pretty hard to get up after a Super Bowl. So I do think the Bills come out early. That's what they've done the last few playoff games at home, punch teams in the mouth. And I think this is a pretty comfortable 13 to 14-point victory.
Dan, when you look at the other 5 games this wild card weekend, is there a game that you've got a particular interest in over other games? Is there an upset brewing in one of these other 5 games? What are your thoughts on the rest of the wild card round?
Yeah, the AFC North matchup, right? I'm surprised that wasn't Sunday night. I guess I thought the Bills would be Saturday night. That's just my thought on that. But for as bad as the Steelers are, and for how I do not want to watch them on my TV Saturday night, there still is that interest of this is Tomlin, right? This is still the Ravens and Steelers, and you don't know what's going to happen. And can Lamar nobody's got more pressure on him than Lamar Jackson. So that fascinates me. I always love seeing that kind of a matchup. And then to see how Sam Darnold bounces back over in the NFC. Not a great performance against the Lions. I thought he missed some guys. He's playing for a whole lot of money and all of those things. but that was like Sam's first playoff game. So how do you bounce back? Was that just shaking off the nerves, playing your first real big game? So those are the kind of the two games that I'm most interested in. And I do not want to see any of the Houston Texans. That's for sure.
Dan, the NFL is like split in two. We have these teams going to the postseason, and we have everybody else planning for next year. And when we last spoke, we kind of went down the list. Any of these moves surprise you? I mean, I'll start here. I'm not surprised the Patriots moved on from Gerard Mayo. I'm surprised that it took, 1 hour for that press release to go out?
I don't get why, if you're going to fire the guy, fire him before the game. I don't understand it. Like, if I'm Gerard Mayo, I am smiling ear to ear saying, hey, you guys are going to fire me? Yeah, that's great. Hey, have fun not getting that first overall pick. Like, what a parting gift. That happened with Lovie Smith and the Texans a few years ago. Yeah. Like, fire the coach, put in the special teams coordinator or the water boy as head coach, and just go out and do everything you can as a front office to tank the game because the players can't do it. So that one was a little bit surprising to me. How bad things went in Vegas and getting rid of Antonio Pierce as quick as they did was a little bit surprising. And for as much as I love Brian Daboll, I thought the writing was on the wall in the Meadowlands. So to have him come back, you're giving Joe Shane and Brian Daboll how much of a leash to go get your franchise quarterback, and then you're in charge of them for a year, or are they constantly looking over their shoulders? So those, I think, were the ones that kind of surprised me the most.
Yeah, it would be a lot of pressure starting the season on the hot seat. What about this notion that we have here in Vegas? And there were some reports yesterday, and then some other reports yesterday, and then today you see the Raiders fire Tom Telesco, so they're looking for a GM and a head coach, and the guy that stands across me for 3 hours every afternoon has this belief that Bill Belichick is going to come back to the NFL, and that it would be a team like the Raiders that would be crazy enough to pay that $10 million to get him out of North Carolina and give him full control. Do you think Belichick's done with the NFL? Even we know he's at North Carolina. We went through the whole dog and pony show. Is there any chance at all of that happening?
I don't know if Vegas makes sense. And I guess it's also because of the price tag that Bill Belichick would want. And doesn't Mark Davis have, no money? Like that's what I don't get. Mark Davis keeps paying these coaches not to coach for him.
Yeah.
I know the team's doing well financially, but whenever he actually takes over in that inheritance tax is going to be insanity. I think that's part of the reason why he's brought on Brady and some of these other guys as minority owners to help pay for when he actually fully takes control of the team, I believe, when his mother passes away. So, it's a weird dynamic there that seems a little bit like too much of a circus for Belichick, but I would have thought him going on Pat McAfee would have been too much of a circus for him. So maybe I don't know anything about Bill Belichick, but I feel like Josh McDaniels' name will start kicking around, and we all just need Mike Vrabel to pick a job, and then the dominoes can start to fall.
Dan Fates, live and in person with Catalana and Jenna tonight. Tell everybody about it, Dan.
Yeah, Buffalo Plus live tonight. We're at the Thirsty Turtle in Victor. Come on out, 5 to 7 to meet and greet, and then we're going to be doing our live podcast that normally is on Thursday night at 7:15. We're just going to do it live from the Thirsty Turtle. So we've done a couple of these live shows, been pretty cool. Again, 36,000 subscribers on YouTube. Half the time, I just think we're talking to ourselves, and people actually listen.
No,
so it'll
stop
be cool.
it.
I know.
It's the internet,
right?
man. You're just talking to bots. Everybody knows it.
That's it. So it'll be cool. So come on out to the Thirsty Turtle out in Victor from 5 to 7:45, 8 o'clock-ish, and come have a drink and some food.
Dan, appreciate it. Let's do this again next week. Appreciate you, bud.
Sounds great, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Got it. There's Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, Buffalo Plus. You can check him, the icon, and Jenna all out at the Thirsty Turtle tonight for their live show. I just love what we've got ahead of us. Tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, football nirvana.
It's funny. You had your conversation with Frank. It wasn't about sports, and I did too. He's like, this is too much. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Impossible.
I'm all footballed out.
Whoa.
Like, what?
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
I'm trying. Wait a second. Hold on.
Who's the guy that says that I'm all footballed out? What?
I questioned that. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was almost like I was kind of questioning his sports fandom. He's like, well, but this time in years past, we would be done with college football. I'm like, okay, that's fair. But this new format tonight, the fact that you're getting Penn State, Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl tonight as a standalone game?
Yep.
What's not to love here if you're a sports fan?
Yeah. Pretty great. A little housekeeping before we go to break here on X at the Fan Rochester. That's Elon's Twitter. One of our regulars, John, Yacht Rock John. One way to circumvent the meat locker conditions in the sports bar is to schedule more live shows at Three Heads.
All right, we're working on something. We're not ready to. Yeah, that would. Wow, Three Heads. I believe they have heat there. This is from Mike writing in. Start mentioning the name of the landlord every day at the beginning of your show. Show how long and prove how long it takes to get the heat fixed. Prove the power of radio. I want to do that, but I don't want to put anybody on blast. I want to use diplomacy first.
I don't even know the name of our landlord.
Oh, I do. It's easy to fix.
Oh.
Yeah, fine, yeah.
All right. What about Chuck Munchia Pet? That's our buddy Greg, our regular on X. If you need hot air, maybe get Binkley on the line. What's he doing tomorrow? I'm not even joking. Let's get Binkley in here tomorrow. Fellows, let me tell you about the Chiefs and how we're going to three-peat and the Bills.
It doesn't matter who Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, and I was talking to Collinsworth last night.
I'm not even kidding, man. Let's break glass in case of emergency. Bring Binkley in here to just give us some hot air out of Kansas City tomorrow afternoon.
He's asking to come on.
Yeah, maybe
and I've
we
been
get
pushing
him on.
Yeah,
maybe we get him on
yeah.
tomorrow. Mike also reaching out to us on X again at the Fan Rochester. I thought you guys were going to say Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders as quarterback/coach/GM. Talk about the ultimate control.
Wasn't he? Didn't he have that title with the Jets? So,
right.
What's different?
Just go from one team to another. Just keep that same position. Appreciate all the interaction on X at the Fan Rochester. Your call's always welcome as well at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Gino, in the name, image, and likeness era of college athletics, there are a lot of reasons to kind of turn your nose down at it, and I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo this era of college football that we're in, but there was an announcement that was made today that, if anything, has us talking about the sport more. And I know that there are games tonight and tomorrow, which is fantastic, but in their efforts to be the 365-day-a-year news cycle that the NFL is, college football, with name, image, like this, there's another announcement that came today where when I saw it, I'm like, well, now I'm paying attention. Now I gotta know. This is fascinating.
Yeah, yes, absolutely about that. And look, Dan has takes. I love his takes. And there's one little thing he said there. He didn't know I was going to go there here next, but he said Lamar Jackson has the most pressure on him. I'm going to tell you why that's not true and who actually does.
All right, we're going to get to that and more next. We've got Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports, and the Locked On Broncos podcast stopping by the sports bar next hour as well.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Sports Station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
From Bills practice today, kicker Brandon Codrington was limited. Jamarcus Ingram was once again excused for a personal reason. Everyone else is good to go. Von Miller coming off a game where he had a sack. Miller talking about facing his old team.
It's a cool event, to be able to play against this new and improved, Denver Broncos. The last time that they made the playoffs was, last time we won a Super Bowl. So it's a full circle moment, and it's nothing but love and respect for the Denver Broncos and Broncos country for sure.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. It's the semifinal in college football tonight. Penn State facing Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Tonight at 7 here on The Fan. The Buffalo Sabres look to make it 2 in a row. Sabres taking on Ottawa. Tonight's Lakers-Charlotte game has been postponed due to the wildfires in L.A. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
My problem, if you're a Broncos fan or if you're going to back Denver in this game, it's just one of these X's and O's matchups. The things that have gotten Denver to the postseason, they're playing against arguably kind of their worst matchup in the Bills. So I do like the Bills in this game. I think they're going to have a double-digit victory in this game.
If the Bills are at home, and they are this week, then the Bills are winning. If the Bills are on the road, Detroit Lions, Josh Allen has to show up. That's the way it is.
Mike Danger.
They're the best team in the NFL. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. They have the best player in the league at quarterback. They're healthy. That's enough. You should win these games. This is their best chance.
Gene Battaglia.
Is this finally the year for Buffalo? Well, step number one would be beat Denver.
As I told Eugene, it's very cold here.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I don't care, man. It could be as cold as you want it to be. For the next 5 days, good luck getting me off my couch at night. We've got college football action tonight, tomorrow night, a whole weekend of wild card football, and a Monday night of wild card football, all to look forward to here over the next 5 days. I call it football nirvana. We're in it. We're in it right now.
Dude, I am happy to kind of report this during the commercial break. Normally, I don't want to tease tomorrow's guest this soon because we do have some Denver Bronco talk coming up here.
Tell me it's not Jay Binkley.
It is not Jay Binkley. No, it is not Jay Binkley. We are going to be talking tomorrow to the legend of the game this week.
Oh.
Coming back for the first time since his retirement, Kyle Williams comes into the sports bar.
Come on. Really?
Fan favorite, Kyle Williams.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Kyle Williams? I mean, he's suffered through some rough years. And then to get to the postseason, to be there, to break the curse, the emotion, having his kids with him in the locker room. We all remember that image.
That video, every time it comes across my feed, every New Year's Eve, because that's when it happened. When you're watching that, and it's just focused on Williams' face, and it's his eyes telling you whether it's a first down, and then his jaw drops as if, oh my gosh, I'm finally going to get to the postseason, when the reality, it is a spectacular moment. And to have him come back this week, I don't know, that's a big responsibility, getting the crowd fired up before this game.
Look, it is a big responsibility, but it's not a heavy lift. Just know how to say the chant. We've had some legends of the game show up and just absolutely botch it.
Drew Bledsoe. Ooh.
Oh, yo. What? No, Drew. Did you play here? What's wrong with you, man? He's out there having a stroke. Nobody knows what's going on. Yeah, it's very simple. Hey, if you could do that, then I think you'll get the crowd worked up into a lather. I think Kyle Williams will do just fine.
Yeah, I think that crowd will be worked up. Even though it's a 1 o'clock kick, Danger, it feels like, okay, everything feels like an appetizer to me, including the college football games, the games on Saturday. We get to Sunday, so excited that we'll have to get Binkley on another time.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Kyle Williams takes precedent. I'm excited for that, Gino. Nice get. Nice get, as they say. We got Kyle Williams joining us in the sports bar tomorrow afternoon. Our legend of the game, Sunday at Highmark Stadium.
We have time for your calls this segment. 866-4FAN. If you're in your car and you want to speak to it, 866-43 888-267-1426. You can also write to us on X. The Fan Rochester is our handle.
Now, you mentioned that Dan said something interesting during our conversation with Dan Fates last hour.
Yeah, and it was actually a topic on the Rich Eisen show today. By the way, if you haven't missed it, Rich Eisen now is before One Bills Live from noon to 1 here.
No more Romy.
No. So, but
have a take. Don't suck.
But Eisen this time of year?
Oh, Eisen is so dialed into the NFL. It's so great.
Yeah, and so this was the topic. Which quarterback has the most pressure on him this playoff season? And Dan said it's Lamar. I say it's not Lamar. And no, it's not Josh Allen. And no, it's not Jalen Hurts. Look at it from this viewpoint. They all have their futures set. Clearly, the answer is easy. It's Sam Darnold. Darnold, the 14-2 Vikings. He's arrived. Look at him. And then you got that clunker on Sunday night in Detroit. And now you have this. They play the Rams on the road. And look, this could be just a neutral field now. It's not that hostile an environment. Not at all. Win, we're not talking about anything. But if it's another stink bomb from Darnold, literally nothing is starting. Literally danger. Millions are on the line for Sam Darnold Monday night.
I'll say that millions are on the line, but I just find it so humorous how quickly people will fall off a bandwagon. One bad game. I mean, it wasn't all on Darnold. Like, they just didn't have a good – Detroit played really, really well. They didn't have an answer for Jahmyr Gibbs defensively. Darnold was inaccurate. He had his worst game of the season at the worst time with everything on the line. And even if they lose to the Rams, you don't move off of Sam Darnold if you're the Vikings. You do not. You telling me J.J. McCarthy is getting you 14 wins next season? I don't think so. 13 wins next season? Probably not. You know what you have in Sam Darnold. If you're the Vikings, you can't let that guy go.
Yeah, but
there is still millions on the line. There is still millions on the line. It might be with Minnesota. It might be with another team. There is pressure on him, no question. His future earnings are at stake here. But I would be shocked if the Vikings didn't keep him. They should do everything they can to keep him in Minnesota.
Well, we have this question every year. Which team has the biggest variance? Meaning, boy, if they lost in the first game, wouldn't surprise me. And for this exercise, top seeds are out. Okay, Kansas City, Detroit, and Moona. Which team has the biggest variance? I think last year I said it was Cincinnati. To me, it's Minnesota because it wouldn't surprise me if the Rams won. And that stat, it's unbelievable, that stat that P.J. Glasser threw at us yesterday. This was the stat. The stat being that teams that missed the postseason last year and that make the postseason and are favorites on the road are 1-14. So beware of the Chargers. Beware of the Vikings this week.
Yeah.
That's an unbelievable stat.
I love that stat. The team for me that has the most variance this year is the Buccaneers. For me, they could make the Super Bowl, and they could absolutely lose to the Commanders on Sunday.
The Buccaneers and Eagles would be a lot of fun, would it not?
Oh, yeah.
That would. A lot of these games would be fun.
Yeah. No, the Bucs are the team that's in the NFC. I'm more compelled about the Bucs than I am over any team. I don't see the Packers right now with the way they're playing being able to get past the Eagles. I don't see the Packers as a Super Bowl team this year. The Vikings are a nice story, but I don't see them as a Super Bowl team. I could see Tampa in the Super Bowl.
I could see if Minnesota gets by this Rams team, okay, and the seeds hold, let's say. Well, then they got to go back to Detroit. Think Detroit wants to do that again? They'll say all the right things.
Yeah.
I would think that would be a very tasty matchup, even though we normally don't like those rematches that quickly.
Well, to your point, there is a lot on Darnold, and I'll even say I'll raise a glass and say, yeah, you're probably right. The quarterback who does have the most pressure, I think, is Sam Darnold because his future earnings hinge on whether or not he performs at a high level against the Rams. I would think Minnesota is out of their minds if they let that guy out of their locker room.
Well, how contentious could it be? Like that's what it comes down to. Like, you want to make no doubt, okay, I'm the guy. You don't want me leaving out the door here. Let's sit down and get this deal done. You don't want any doubt if he's throwing the ball high and doing some bad Sam Darnold things. That he was the top reason why the Vikings lost that game in Detroit, in my opinion.
Speaking of uncertainty, what's going on with Carson Beck? I mean, it was just the end of last month that he was saying, I'm declaring for the NFL draft, and today we get the reversal. And for all the negatives that people discuss around the name, image, and likeness era of college athletics, I kind of like that today we're wondering, where's Carson Beck going to play next season? I mean, his season ended last week, and we're wondering now, where's he going to go? The Georgia quarterback, he won't enter the NFL draft now in 2025, which I think is smart because he went from being a top prospect before this season started to a second-round pick at best if he were to come out in this year's draft. And I hear a lot of people saying that Miami will be his destination. I've heard some rumblings about Notre Dame. If you're back, this makes a lot of sense. You could earn your NIL. You can beat up, if you're in Miami, on a weaker ACC. If you're at Notre Dame, you beat up on their schedule. Rehab your draft stock. Go first round in 2026. Do it a year before Arch Manning becomes eligible for the NFL draft. I think it's a smart course reversal here by Beck. I'm looking forward to watching his story play out, and this is all thanks to the transfer portal. It's all thanks to the NIL era of college athletics. We're talking about the sport now more than ever.
Yeah, and I think it's more of, sure, we could talk about Beck, but the days of Alabama and Georgia lording over the sport, or that conference for this matter, it has completely leveled the field. And you don't believe me? You know how deep the pockets are for Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're not going to tell you exactly how the Irish got back here, but it's almost like Brian Kelly put himself ahead. Brian Kelly is the last guy to kind of cash in like that. Like, he's the last coach to be like, pay me and I'm going to bring everything with me. No, it flipped really quick there.
And again, with Georgia and Alabama, like the two powerhouse programs, let's face it, they were probably paying their players for years before NIL to continue to be as dominant as they were. Just never got caught. You don't have. I know, I'm shocking. I hope you're sitting down. You don't have the potential for any sort of negative matchup come college football final. I mean, these four teams, whatever scenario comes out of it, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained by Ohio State, Notre Dame, or Ohio State, Penn State, or Notre Dame, Texas, or Texas, Penn State? Whatever it is, any combination of those four teams, I'm in. That's an unreal matchup.
Well, and credit to college football. Now, they didn't do this in the first round of their playoffs that Saturday. And I remember, okay, I'll tune in for Penn. Oh, they're getting clobbered. Let me go over to the NFL. And it was like the Ravens were playing. Then it was the Chiefs. I don't remember the order, but I never went back to it.
Yeah.
And the NFL killed. There's talk that they could keep them separate in the first round. So what I think they've done right here, Danger, what I'm trying to say is that keeping these college football playoff games away from the NFL, putting it on a Thursday and a Friday night, and there's no more charade. Well, that's bad for the student athletes. Stop. Are they really student athletes or are they private contractors? Okay, they're getting paid. Yeah. The game's at a Thursday night, okay?
They're not,
you're
they're not student
class.
Athletes. They're in the entertainment business. And
right.
They're being compensated as such. So let's cut it out.
Student athletes.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure Drew Aller will be just fine with his studies. They'll be okay. Let's get them out there. And look, this is, for college football, one step closer to being – a sport that has a 365-day-a-year news cycle. We talk about the NFL 12 months out of the year. College football's not there yet, but these are the kind of stories that I find fascinating.
They got to figure, if I can make one thing's suggestion better, I thought Monday night was Monday night we're going to get a playoff game this week, and then we get the national championship game. But that week 18, that was something. I know they served up the Division II national championship. We didn't even talk about North Dakota State.
Oh, no, not North Dakota State. They always win it. The FBS there, or the FCS.
Oh, the Bison.
The FCS, the Thundering Herd, the Bison. Oh, no, not North Dakota State. The Bison? We had to brine the roads before that game to make sure everybody could get out to the bar and get some drinking on before the game got underway. They just win it every year. Good golly. Oh, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, the Bison.
no.
Yeah, no, the Bison had another great season. They just won another championship. I mean, that was the Monday night action when we had no Monday night football. I was a little thirsty for football. You could have put something there, and I would have gobbled it up. But I suppose normally they bury that like on a Saturday afternoon, don't they? The FBS.
Well, ESPN realized, what, we can put this in prime time. They put the Division III championship. Usually that's buried on a Saturday afternoon or Friday night. They put that on Sunday night head-to-head against the NFL. I'm like, don't do that.
Not great.
No.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait for tonight's action. I'm happy to report. Yesterday, I was worried that I was going to be delivering some late Christmas gifts to my brothers-in-law. I can now share what I got my brothers-in-law that I ordered from some sketchy website, and these gifts came from China, and everything was backlogged, and it didn't get here in time. I got my brother-in-law, the Penn State fan, an infinity bottle with Beaver Stadium etched on it. Yeah. I think that went over well. And for my other brother-in-law, the Commanders fan, and my nephew, it's a candle, but it has a label on it that says Gary and Vincent's Lucky Commanders candle, whatever. It when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's adorable. That's something that the two of them can have fun with when the Commanders play on Sunday night in Tampa. So no ill effects from me not wrapping those gifts like I was a little bit nervous about.
Did you get it? I remember like in the days of Masterstroke, our buddy Masterstroke, he'd order like his jerseys from there, and then one Bills jersey came back. He's like, oh, hey, look at this, my Josh Allen jersey. Dude, it's purple. It's not purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that looks purple to
It
me,
wasn't blue. It wasn't the Bills color of blue. I don't even remember the website. I thought the website was legit. I thought the website was domestic. It was Chinese. Everything came from China, and everything got hung up at customs. And here I am, like a schmuck, delivering Christmas gifts the first full week of January.
So, what did you do Christmas when we got together, the family? Like, it's coming, guys. I'm sorry.
Didn't say anything. Because normally we don't give each other gifts. Yeah. But I saw it. I'm like, this is too good for me not to get him. And you get him in his own infinity bottle, and it's got Beaver Stadium on. I'm like, this is great. And if you're like me, when you're scrolling, you'll see these ads every now and then, and I bit, and I didn't realize. Like, oh, well, okay, it's from a Chinese website. Who knew? Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports, Locked On Broncos. We're going to learn more about the Bills' opponent on Sunday afternoon here. The season that the Broncos have had, ending their playoff drought, the impact of Sean Payton, the fact that these two teams carry the two highest amounts of dead cap money, and yet they're facing off in the wild card round of the playoffs. I don't know that anybody could have predicted it, but Cody Rourke will make heads and tails of what the Denver Broncos are bringing to the table here come Sunday afternoon when he stops by the sports bar. Next on The Fan Rochester.
Welcome back to We the Hobby. You know what time it is? A little something special today. Oh, Nick.
Is that a corn?
That ain't no corn.
What?
That's a super corn!
Oh, wow.
Visit us at 23 Arlington Street in Rochester.
And AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. Is your morning routine as thrilling as watching paint dry? Wake up with Maggie and Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. Weekday mornings via the Odyssey app. And make getting out of bed your favorite part of the day. The Fan, Rochester. Sports Update.
From Bills practice today, returner Brandon Codrington was limited. Jamarcus Ingram once again excused for a personal reason. Everyone else was good to go. Bills quarterback Josh Allen talking about those Broncos.
You know, it's the team that came in here last year and they beat us. We know that. We understand that. It's a very good team. They're well coached. Their defensive line is one of the best in the league. They got a couple guys outside that can absolutely go. Obviously, look at Surtain, one of the best corners in the game. We're going to have our hands full.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. Cody Rourke, the Locked On Broncos podcast, joining us next. It's the semifinal of college football tonight. Penn State facing Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Tonight at 7 here on The Fan, it's the Sabres looking to make it 2 in a row. Buffalo taking on Ottawa. NBA tonight, the Lakers-Charlotte game has been postponed due to the wildfires. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Reality is we have a pretty good team, and I don't have to use my optimistic brain to force that. We have a really good team. We have a really good coaching staff. We have a really good quarterback. We play really good defense.
This is a guy who has some experience in winning Super Bowls, Von Miller. And of course, the Broncos are very familiar with the former Super Bowl MVP. We welcome in from the Mile High, Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports, Locked On Broncos, joining us in the sports bar to preview this matchup on Sunday afternoon between the Bills and the Broncos. And Cody, what I find very fascinating about these two teams coming into this matchup is that if you were to ask anybody going into the season about their rosters, you'd look at that dead cap number for both of these teams and be like, yeah, no way. Those rosters aren't talented enough to make it to the postseason or go on any sort of run. Yet here we are. How are you, bud?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. And, yeah, I think it would have been, crazy, at the beginning of the season to think that. Just because, all the circumstances of, where Denver's at, they go out and they get a rookie quarterback. And I think the hardest thing you can do going into a season is say, all right, hey, you got a rookie quarterback. He's going to come in and light it up. Now, he's exceeded every expectation so far here, and obviously a little bit of a surprise considering the Broncos' lack of a run game offensively and a lack of weapons really kind of around him outside of Cortland Sutton. Like the production has kind of been really spread out here throughout this offense, and there has been no contributions really from the tight end position. So to look at what Bo's been able to do has been impressive, and certainly as that dead salary cap starts to dwindle away, Denver will be paying $32 million this year instead of the $55 million that they're paying this year. Essentially, they're going to have more room to make some moves to build this team around Bo Nix, and they have the belief and they have the knowledge that hey, he's their franchise guy. And now you need to watch a rookie quarterback go up against a guy that so many, in hindsight, are saying the Broncos should have drafted in 2018 in Josh Allen. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, you think back to that as, a whole different regime, and here are the Broncos. If you go back to, I think how much has actually changed since the last time these two teams played, and, boy, the world was on fire the next day. I shouldn't use that phrase. My apologies. It's bad. But everybody was upset the next day here in Western New York, Cody, in regards to the Bills mismanaging the special teams, but the idea that game was won by Russell Wilson. How did that go over at the time? Bring us from the end of last season when Russell Wilson, healthy, is getting benched just so that helps out a little bit on the cap.
Yeah, look, that whole Buffalo game definitely kind of changed a lot, I think, in terms of the outlook of the team. I mean, it's a tough, gritty Bills team, as we all know. I feel like the Bills are probably the most dangerous team in football. Last year, I think, was a big boost here for Denver, and it really was kind of just getting that turnover thing created. And really, we didn't know going into that matchup till later on in the year that really going into that game, Russell Wilson didn't know he was going to start until that Monday of the game. So, those changes definitely going to have some ripple effects. And certainly I remember after Denver beat Buffalo last year, there were a lot of people who were like, the Broncos, they didn't need Josh Allen. I'm like, well, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. Would he have been the same guy he is today if he stayed if he was drafted by Denver? I don't know. I mean, the thing is, there was a constant rotating door of coaches and coordinators coming in, and I think that's an issue. I think what you've really seen where Josh Allen's had success is he came into an organization where he had stability with the same head coach, and they built around him. They had a system around him, and all of a sudden you allowed him to make his mistakes and keep growing. And I think that's why Josh Allen is who he is today. You don't see that type of timeline or structure for a lot of NFL teams. And certainly when you look at the amount of head coaching jobs that are available right now, it's hard to imagine those situations kind of ironing themselves out as well. So, I think for Denver, they've got this continuity factor to them that, they got a, third youngest roster right now in the NFL, with Bo Nix now at the quarterback position, with Sean Payton at the head coaching position, and a defense that is very talented and kind of under the radar. Denver's they're okay with being the underdogs, going forward. So the vibe right here, I think if Denver can keep this game close, they're going to have a shot, but they can't make mistakes that they've made this season, not against a team like the Bills. That's where, a team like, with Josh Allen, their room for error, Denver's, is very, very small in comparison. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Cody, if there's one thing that an offense can do against this Bills defense, and we've seen it throughout the course of the season at times, you can run the ball against the Bills defense. And I'm curious about that backfield for Denver. It feels like it's been a three-headed attack with nobody really raising their hand up and being the I think Javonte Williams, coming out of North Carolina, a lot of people had high hopes for him, and I know that injuries have kind of maybe taken their toll. But give us a little bit of a background on that backfield and what kind of a threat they may pose to the Bills defense if they get it going here on Sunday.
Yeah, look, if you look at the numbers, the Broncos' run game this year really hasn't been very good. Bo Nix has pretty much been the run game. Javonte Williams led the team in rushing. There wasn't anything that really stood out. Denver didn't have a single running back this year go over 600 yards on the ground. And really, they've had a rotation of three different guys. You mentioned Javonte, but then Audric Estime, the rookie out of Notre Dame, and obviously Jaleel McLaughlin, who's a speedster. But they just can't figure out how to divvy up the touches, between the three players. And as of late, we've seen it shift to a little bit more of Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin getting the primary carries in the run game. Javonte's been kind of used in that Samaje Perine role that he played with Denver last year, specifically, what we saw against Buffalo, passing situations because he's good in pass protections, and maybe a couple of dump-off options to him in the passing game if the Bills' defense tries to play a little bit back and they try to take away the deep stuff. This would be the perfect time this week for the Broncos to get the run game going, though I don't have a lot of confidence that's going to be the case because they have a hard time sticking with it. And I think that's where I think you can't get into that type of game against the Bills, against this defense, because they do have athletic, rangy linebackers. They got good guys on the perimeter there that can, play the run relatively well. And Greg Rousseau, obviously you've got Ed Oliver on the defensive line that I feel like he's going to be a plug there. This is going to be a game where I feel like the Bills are going to try to dare Denver to throw the football. I think they're going to try to play to stop the run. We'll see if Denver can maybe break off a few and maybe commit to it. But if they don't commit to it, it's going to be hard for them.
Tell me a little bit about Nick Bonito. Do they use him almost as a spy in this? What has he brought to that Denver defense?
It's going to be tough when you factor in like the mobility factor of Josh Allen. I think certainly, you maybe want to try to spy him. You could bring in a Drew Sanders inside linebacker to maybe be a spy. But the reality is, with those guys playing the edge, because Josh Allen can get outside and use his legs, obviously they'll design some runs with him there. You're going to have to really kind of play discipline when it comes to read option. You got to make sure if you're Nick Bonito, if the running back is facing you, you got to make sure Josh Allen doesn't pull and keep it to get to the outside there. I think it's going to be hard to just do that, because then you're going to predicate it on, hey, we got to spy Josh Allen. I think Denver's just going to try to play contain, which you have to do, maintain internal gap discipline, and then play man-to-man coverage against Keon Coleman and guys like Khalil Shakir and obviously Amari Cooper, who I know returned to practice yesterday for Buffalo. So that might be the best game plan that they have here, and obviously Riley Moss is fully healthy, so that might be how they approach this game. It's hard. I just don't think you can just play and sit in zone against Josh Allen.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about strength versus strength here, because the Denver pass rush has gotten to the quarterback as good as any team in the NFL this season, and the Bills have been really good at keeping Josh Allen upright. They've given up the fewest amount of sacks. So what's going to give here come Sunday?
Yeah, look, I think Josh Allen's ability to fall forward, definitely helps him avoid certain sacks, especially in the backfield. I just think his awareness, too. I mean, you're going to have to really worry about the entire length of the field, from a width standpoint, just because Josh Allen gets outside the pocket and you're chasing him. We've all seen, he'll wait till he gets to the inch part of the sideline where he can throw it. Like, he is a threat to throw all across the entire field there. So you have to chase him. You have to keep him in front of you, and you also have to make sure that you don't over-pursue, because the scramble drill, that's going to open up opportunities for him to find guys like maybe James Cook on a leak out. Other wide receivers, DBs are going to have to cover a little bit longer. If you can find a way to get pressure up the middle and then make sure your contain is there, maybe you can get Josh Allen and the Bills' offense to go backwards. But then again, that's hard. Like, this is a team in Buffalo that has beaten both the number one seed in the NFC and the Detroit Lions, and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs this year. They are a dangerous team, and I'm very curious to see how they are coming off of, a week where really they didn't play any starters this past week against the New England Patriots. Does that hurt them? Does that help them? I think we're going to find out here on Sunday.
Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports, the Locked On Broncos podcast, our guest. Cody, if I can go off the board here for a second, because, well, the storyline outside of the playoffs, all these jobs getting hired and who's interviewing where. And in Buffalo, Joe Brady, teams are asking to talk to the Bills' offensive coordinator. If Joe Brady does land one of these head coaching jobs, well, again, the disclaimer here being this is speculation, but the name that is being kicked around is actually Davis Webb, the Broncos quarterback coach. He's got he was here. He has that relationship with Josh Allen. Tell us what Davis Webb has done here for the development of Bo Nix, and is he calling plays for an offense, whether that's Buffalo or somewhere else next year?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, obviously Davis Webb, Sean Payton really came across impressed with him when they interviewed initially when Peyton first took the job here in Denver. Obviously he was coming off the transition of playing for the Giants, and I think the reality is okay, hey, like, what does this guy do? How does he prepare? And obviously there's a scouting report that Davis Webb did every single week, even when he was a player, and he kept every report dating back to high school. That was something that stood out to Sean. Said, okay, hey, this guy, he plans really well. He understands the scouting aspect of it. There is a chance he can go call plays somewhere, and I think what he's done in the quarterback room, Zach Allen has got this newfound confidence to him, and, I've had a chance to talk with Zach Wilson a few times this season, and he just says that, the culture that is there inside the locker room right now is just something that has benefited him, and not only that, Bo Nix as well. So Bo is definitely responsible. Davis is definitely responsible for a little bit of the quarterback success here. I think it's a little too early, though, for him to go out there and get a coordinator job, though I think there's going to be interest. I think it'll be at least another 1 or 2 years before that really opens up for him. But, you mentioned Joe Brady and things like that. There is a possibility that maybe he does have an accelerated track here in Denver. Maybe he is calling plays somewhere this upcoming season. Just depends on the fit. And I think that for Davis, a big part of it's going to be, can he go to a place where there's a foundation for a quarterback, to have success? If not, that's a tough challenge to put a young guy who would be a first-time OC in the NFL. That'd be a tough position to put him in.
Cody, I want to ask you about the Broncos' best player on the defensive side of the ball, a guy that probably takes away a third of the field every time he's out on the field. But what I really want to know is the age-old question: is it Surtain or Surtain?
Surtain. It's Surtain, correct?
Yeah, Surtain.
So does he get mad when people call him Surtain? Because I've heard every Buffalo Bill refer to him as Surtain. Are they trying to get under his skin? What now that we know the pronunciation, heap a little praise on the All-Pro corner there for the Broncos.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily think it's to get on the skin. I think it's an easy, you look at the T-A-I-N, it's easy to maybe say Surtain. I know initially when he was drafted, a lot of people here in Denver were calling him Patrick Surtain as well. But, it's Surtain. He's such an incredible player to watch. And, look, I think the thing that stands out to me about him is that he's in a position right now where he's probably got the best case of any defensive back in quite some time to be in a position to, what's the word I'm trying to say? Make the strongest case possible for Defensive Player of the Year, which is hard in today's NFL, right? We always see that award usually goes to a pass rusher, the guy that has the most sacks, but Surtain's body of work this year, who he's guarded, who he's limited, that has been incredible. It's been fun to watch as well. So, look, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think we're going to see him against Amari Cooper, Bama versus Bama. That should be fun for television.
Cody, you don't play for the team. You're not part of the team. So when I'm watching the Broncos lining up to kick a field goal against the Chiefs, oh, come on. What are we doing here, guys? Like, just the idea that the Chiefs have been skating around. But the question is this. I'm thinking of ways in which the Broncos can win this game. And you know what? The Rams beat Buffalo because of one big special teams play, amongst other reasons. But that's really what swung it. Tell us, and I'm picking out the one thing that went really, really wrong, so maybe that's not fair. But tell us about the Broncos special teams this year.
Yeah, look, Denver special teams unit, they've been really impressive. They've done a really good job in terms of their overall protection. And, I'd say even their kick coverage has been something that has definitely been worth raving about. I think another thing that we can look at here in terms of their coverage, they're disciplined. They don't let a lot of big plays necessarily happen. And I'd say they've done a really good job at times of pinning opponents into their own long field situations, long field territories. So if they can do that, I mean, it all goes with Riley Dixon. The number one thing, he's had some inconsistency issues the last couple of weeks, especially against the Bengals, where Joe Burrow was able to start out at midfield. But he's been good for the most part. Like, they have good gunners. Their return unit, obviously, with Marvin Mims back there as a returner, that's something I think a lot of people are going to look at. Buffalo's going to probably try to avoid that. And look, Sam Martin, former Bronco, he might have to, have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder here this week. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think that this should be, special teams could be something that makes or breaks the outcome of this game.
Cody, I'm losing my train of thought as I'm talking to Cody. I had this very specific question.
I'll ask him one more on this because was Von Miller always this positive in Denver? You could it's 0 out. We've got a blizzard warning. No, it's all good. Like Von Miller, from where you sit here, like if the Bills win this game, can we squeeze anything out of Von Miller like you had, I don't know, last time the Broncos made the postseason and won the whole thing?
Yeah, I think you absolutely can. And look, I haven't watched the Bills all season long just because, it's hard to keep up with everything. But, watching Von as of late, it looks like he's just kind of saving himself a little bit. It looks like playoff Von Miller, so to speak, right? And I think that's, one of his main goals is, can you find a way to, I would say, play your best football in the postseason? I don't know how many times we've seen that from Von. Look, when Von was younger in his career, he was like that from week one all the way to, the AFC Championship. But now I think as he's getting older, and I know he's battled some injuries over the last handful of years, can he find a way to just play his best football in the postseason? I think you're going to get that. And look, I think playoff Von Miller is one of the most fun things to watch in the NFL. Definitely going to be a challenge here for Bo Nix and those guys. But, I think you guys will be able to enjoy it. You guys will definitely be able to squeeze something out. If you guys beat Denver this week, I think Von's going to go on a little bit of a tear, and I think it's going to impact the rest of the AFC for the remainder of the playoffs.
Cody, I got my brain synapses firing again, and I know what I was going to ask you because I look around the AFC landscape right now, and you see 3 of the 4 teams out of the AFC West in the postseason. And while their record wouldn't indicate it, it sure appears to me and to my eyes that the rest of the AFC West is starting to catch up to the Kansas City Chiefs. True or false?
Yeah, no, I'd say that is true. You've certainly seen it with the way that Herbert and the Chargers have played them. I mean, Denver comes down. Bo Nix on the road in Arrowhead, leads a game-winning drive, and then the field goal gets blocked. It is there. Kansas City, I think their window is kind of closing. Now, look, they're obviously the number 1 seed for a reason. They still find ways to win. But I think that window of that dominance that we've all seen for the last handful of years, I think that's starting to subside a little bit. And I think that teams are catching up. And certainly I think Denver's doing it. LA's doing it. We'll see about the Raiders situation, but I think Buffalo's ahead of them at this point in terms of what they're able to do. I would say Kansas City's time might be coming to an end here soon.
Yeah, Cody, tell everybody about what they can listen to this week. Locked On Broncos podcast, if any more episodes are dropping this week, as well as Mile High Sports.
Yeah, no, we got a lot. Obviously, the Locked On Broncos podcast, there's a crossover episode with Joe Marino of Locked On Bills.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to preview that game, they do a really good job of previewing it. Sarah Bettinger, my co-host, and Joe on that. And then, obviously, we're at practice throughout the week. The Broncos relatively healthy coming into this week, so that's a great sign ahead of the playoffs. And we'll see if that translates into, a full team effort here on Sunday. You can get all the coverage Mile High Sports as well as Locked On Broncos.
Cody, appreciate the time, bud. Have a great weekend, and let's talk again soon.
Appreciate you guys so much, and enjoy the game. Stay safe and stay warm.
You got it. There's Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports, Locked On Broncos pod.
Stay warm. Was he listening?
I think he just knows. I think at this time of year, it's just a blanket statement you could throw at anybody at the Northeast.
Yeah.
Stay warm. Yeah, stay warm. Yeah, it's cold. It is cold in the studio. It is cold outside. We don't have any heat in our studio. No heat in our studio.
Heat.
If you're watching the YouTube stream on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, Gene is wearing his wool knit cap indoors. Not ironically, not as a fashion statement, out of necessity. Who is it? Chris in South Central Kentucky said that we look like Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Well, that's one thing. Yeah.
It's a deep pull. A
Wow.
good 3/4 of our audience has no idea who Bob and Doug McKenzie are. Thanks, Chris.
I drank the whole thing.
Yeah, you hoser. Yeah, we got to stay warm. Thanks, Cody. Yes, we will stay warm. Great stuff there, though, and interesting to get a perspective of what's going on with the Broncos. Do you feel, after talking to Cody and learning a little bit more about the Broncos, do you feel any less confident about the Bills' ability to win on Sunday?
Nope.
Me neither.
Next. Nope.
Me neither.
Nope.
I mean, it's a nice story, and I love you have to love what Sean Payton has done. I mean, to be where they were last year versus where they are now this year, pretty remarkable turnaround. And I don't know who you can give the credit to other than the job that Payton has done. Like, takes a lot of nuts to say, you're Russell Wilson, we're getting rid of you. We'll eat that money. That's how much we want you out of this organization. And it's Payton's game. He's got it going in the right direction.
I just think when you talk about their running game, what was his quote? Bo Nix is the best thing in the running game.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I am nervous about that. Young, athletic, speedy. Like, the Bills' defense is athletic, but they're not as fast as I'd like them to be.
There is one thing that all the film nuts are pointing out here, and it's this, that Bo Nix, most passes batted down at the line of scrimmage this year. That's a big factor. There could be some big plays in order for this Bills defense. And can we just, Bo Nix isn't your typical rookie here. The dude started in the Iron Bowl in 2019. 2019. Again, 2019, before Josh Allen even played in his first NFL playoff game. Iron Bowl, November 2019.
And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, and then
shortened season or no, canceled season. I can't even remember. It's all a blur.
It was like a
everybody got an extra year of eligibility. Basically.
Right. Yeah. So he was there, and then he goes and moves up to Oregon. But that was the Auburn-Alabama game, and like it was one of those things. Like even last year, like wait, Bo Nix, you're still here?
I honestly thought that guy played so long in college that I thought he was like Cam Newton's backup at Auburn. I really thought, like, oh, that's the guy that replaced Cam Newton. After Cam Newton left Auburn, yeah, it was Bo Nix. I don't remember who was between Cam Newton and Bo Nix. I just remember Bo Nix being at Auburn. I thought it was around the same time as Cam Newton. Time goes pretty fast, though. Yeah, he played college football for at least 11 seasons. At least. I'm convinced. And now he's with the Broncos. Nice season for Bo Nix. He comes to Orchard Park on Sunday. And we'll have all the coverage for you here on the Fan Rochester. Pre-game gets underway at 9, kickoff just after 1 o'clock. And Gino sharing the news earlier this hour. If you missed it, tomorrow on the Sports Bar, the Buffalo Bills legend of the game will be stopping by the Sports Bar. Kyle Williams tomorrow afternoon.
Kyle Williams getting the crowd fired up on Sunday. Hopefully you can make it a point to tune in to the Sports Bar tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, we have happy hour coming up next on the Fan Rochester. We have plenty of time for your calls. 886-64-FAN, 866-4326. We'll get to the Bills' injury report, which is relatively clean. News and notes from today's practice in Orchard Park. And around the NFL, the coaching and general manager hiring and firing cycle has not slowed down yet. There's another team with another move, and this one has Gene thinking, well, this one is one that could quench Geno's thirst, or will it not? We'll see.
You're nervous. You're nervous. I love this.
Nervous? Who's nervous? It's not happening. It's not happening. But we'll get to it. We'll discuss what's going on in the desert with the Vegas Raiders. All on the way next. Happy hour on the way in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia.
You're listening to the Sports Bar.
Welcome back to We the Hobby. You know what time it is? A little something special today. Oh, Nick.
Is that a corn?
That ain't no corn.
What?
That's a super corn!
Oh, wow.
Visit us at 23 Arlington Street in Rochester.
Online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Sombrellas practice today. Kick returner Brandon Codrington was limited. Jamarcus Ingram once again excused for a personal reason. Everyone else good to go. Von Miller facing his old team.
It's a cool event, to be able to play against this new and improved, Denver Broncos. The last time that they made the playoffs was, last time we won a Super Bowl. So it's a full circle moment, and it's nothing but love and respect for the Denver Broncos and Broncos country for sure.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on the Sports Leader. Semifinal in college football tonight, the Orange Bowl. She's Penn State taking on Notre Dame. Tonight here on The Fan, beginning at 7, it's the Buffalo Sabres north of the border, looking to make it 2 in a row. Buffalo taking on Ottawa. Tonight's Lakers-Charlotte game has been postponed due to the wildfires in L.A. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
My problem, if you're a Broncos fan or if you're going to back Denver in this game, it's just one of these X's and O's matchups. The things that have gotten Denver to the postseason, they're playing against arguably kind of their worst matchup in the Bills. So I do like the Bills in this game. I think they're going to have a double-digit victory in this game.
If the Bills are at home, and they are this week, then the Bills are winning. If the Bills are on the road, Detroit Lions, Josh Allen has to show up. That's the way it is.
Mike Danger.
They're the best team in the NFL. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. They have the best player in the league at quarterback. They're healthy. That's enough. You should win these games. This is their best chance.
Gene Battaglia.
Is this finally the year for Buffalo? Well, step number 1 would be beat Denver.
As I told Eugene, it's very cold here.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Did I hear Von Miller say Broncos country?
Let's ride. Let's ride.
Broncos.
Let's ride.
Perfect.
Okay.
One more time. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Ride. Let's ride. Let's ride.
Broncos.
Let's
country.
ride.
Perfect.
Okay.
One more time. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride.
I just wanted to let it keep going. Like that is,
they love her.
It's just sweet music. It's so cringeworthy. I can't stop though. It's so bad. It's good. That's Russell Wilson when he first got to Denver, doing the hype piece for the scoreboard, and the handler. Perfect. Do it again. That's not perfect. Do it again. Perfect. Broncos country. Let's ride. Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride. Okay. I got my line.
He's talking himself getting
I'm
his line.
telling you, man. Like I'm gonna root for Pittsburgh, but I have a hard time seeing that guy being, a guy that can win in the postseason. That's tough for me. It's really tough for me to see that happening.
I just look at these lines: Ravens by 9.5, Broncos by 8.5, and as you and I have gone on this journey of, okay, is this a team that could trip the Buffalo Bills up? The Buffalo Bills, how could they lose this game? It's because the Buffalo Bills lose. They beat themselves.
That's right.
It's the Bills beating the Bills. It's not like the Broncos are going to go point for point or they're going to come up with some magic formula to slow down this Bills offense. I'm comfortable kind of leaning like how our guest Dan Fates did. Like, this should be a cover. Kind of along those same lines. That looks like a sucker bet, doesn't it? Like, hey, Ravens, Steelers, that's always close. Well, you're going to give me 9.5. I'm sorry. I think the Ravens take care of business Saturday.
Oh, see, I actually know I just said what I said about Russell Wilson. The Steelers give Baltimore fits. They really do. And even if it's in Baltimore, I'll still give the Steelers a chance. Their defense is healthy. You've got T.J. Watt. You didn't have him the postseason last year. I'll give him a chance. But Russ has not been great. And there's a disconnect between Russ and George Pickens. And the moon ball isn't connecting the way it was earlier this season. You need a moon ball or two from Russell Wilson to connect if the Steelers are going to have a chance offensively against the Ravens. And against the Ravens secondary, those moon balls can connect. So I'll give them a chance. I actually like the Steelers plus the 9.5. And we'll make our predictions tomorrow here in the Sports Bar. And I'll be on CMF tomorrow morning for Tommy Tells It Like It Is with my prediction. But hard for me to imagine that the Bills aren't winning this game by double digits.
Yeah, it's something we can talk about. 866-4FAN, 866-4326, our phone number, and we've got college football tonight.
Oh, can't wait, man. Yeah. We've got the college football playoff semifinal, Penn State and Notre Dame, the Orange Bowl in Miami. That's going to be a great atmosphere tomorrow night. Another semifinal game between Texas and Ohio State. And that's where they've brined the roads in preparation. The weather shouldn't be a factor.
Like it's a baby back rib there.
Right.
Yeah.
The roads are meat in Texas, apparently. The Bills practice report today, the injury report from today, clean. Brandon Codrington limited in practice today.
Yeah, he gave when asked point blank by Alex Brasky, hey, are you playing? We'll see. So if he's out there limited, hard to say. The media didn't see him actually returning any punts. It is kind of the tricky thing, Danger. Like nobody else has experienced this season returning punts for the Buffalo Bills. So Codrington has been the guy. Apparently it happened on the last return of the game. Isn't that always the way it kind of works?
Yeah. From around the NFL, Gino right now has an unquenchable thirst, believing that because the decks have been cleared in Las Vegas with the firing of their GM, Tom Telesco, after one season, that you can now make that offer to Bill Belichick.
Well, this is weird, is it not? Because Antonio Pierce, you let go. Telesco, okay, sure, he kept Pierce on. He just took the job. That's a one and done for a GM.
Yeah.
So he's not even allowed to hire his first real coach. It was basically, all right, you did the job. Telesco was there when they fired McDaniels, but my gosh, like Telesco, 11 years with the Chargers, 1 year with the Raiders, 48 hours after this past two. What, I'm not allowed to connect dots here, Danger?
So what do you think is happening behind the scenes? Do you think Tom Brady had a conversation with Belichick about the opportunity that might exist for him in Las Vegas, a team that he's a minority owner of now? And do you think Belichick said to him, yeah, Tom, I'll drop everything that I've done here in North Carolina if I can have full football control in Las Vegas. And, oh, by the way, will he pay my buyout? Because he's going to have to do that while he's still paying for his last three coaches.
Well, it's Belichick and who's coming with me. Michael Lombardi is his GM in North Carolina right now. By the way, they do have GMs at the college game now.
Yeah.
That's the way things have changed here.
Yeah.
So if that's a prerequisite, like Bill Belichick at this stage, like he's just going to work with some new GM that he's competed against for so many years? No, it's all relationship.
I like to believe that what this move signifies for the Raiders is actually a step in the direction of alignment. That whoever it is that you bring in to be the head coach will have the ability to say, here's the guy we should bring in to be the GM. And you have a relationship between head coach and GM that isn't fractured on day one because the GM wanted to hire a different coach or the coach wanted to take orders from a different GM. And they're interviewing, like a lot of teams, the Bears, the Jets, they're casting a wide net, is what they like to say. Robert Saleh will interview with the Raiders. Steve Spagnuolo also requested to interview with the Raiders. By the way, Spags on the list of teams being requested to interview Spags. Add Jacksonville to that list as well. So I think the Raiders, in making the move that they made today, allow themselves the ability to better align themselves for the future.
Yeah, the idea, and Fates mentioned this earlier, the idea that the Patriots screwed up. Why, if you knew you were going to fire Gerard Mayo, why did you put him out there? Because you know he wants to win the game and stick it to him. The Raiders won 2 of their last 3. Like, they legitimately had a shot at this, at least the top 2. Now they're picking 6.
Yeah, these owners, it's almost like they put such a value on that number 1 overall pick. It's kind of like, the Sabres have that culture of losing that they haven't been able to break since pain and suffering, right? It's a terrible place to be. You're Gerard Mayo, you're a competitor, you're getting paid to win football games. And you know that by winning a football game, you're actually setting the organization potentially backwards. That's a fireable offense. You get fired for winning games in the NFL. It's a weird thing. Best not to be in that situation, I guess. If your team is in that situation where you're wondering, how do you get over that loser mentality? The Bears haven't gotten over it, and they were bad, and they got the number 1 overall pick, and they still haven't figured it out because they don't have the alignment, man. You got to have the alignment. The from the top down, even if the top is dysfunctional, and Mark Davis is kind of crazy. If you have a GM and a head coach,
I just don't think Mark Davis is crazy. I just think he's just kind of simple.
Well, and I shouldn't say that about the Raiders as well because they did have alignment, right? McDaniel's guy was another guy from New England. Like they had a GM and head coach that were both from New England, and they got rid of both of them too. So before they brought in Telesco, what a mess. But yeah, the Raiders parting ways after one season with their GM, adding Robert Saleh to their list of candidates that they'd like to interview. Speaking of the Steelers and the Ravens, I saw this injury cross my feed earlier today. If you haven't heard, Zay Flowers, top receiver for the Ravens, will not be available against the Steelers on Saturday night. That's not a zero. That's not a nothing. That's I think significant for Lamar Jackson and his options against that Steelers D. And if we're talking about the Raiders, Gino, I know you want to try and win back your box of wine and hope that Belichick gets it. Could I interest you in Coach Prime going to Vegas? Because Coach Prime today, after saying all along, no, I'm not going to the NFL. I'm not coaching in the NFL. He leaves the door cracked open just a little bit to say the only way he would leave for the NFL is if he could coach both of his sons, Shedeur and Shiloh. Now, the possibility of him coaching Shedeur, yeah, I could see that. Shiloh is probably not a guy that's getting drafted. Shiloh is the undrafted free agent that has to stick to a team or latch onto it. Shiloh is Brawny.
Okay.
Dion would have to, pull some strings to get Shiloh, pull some strings to get both of them if he was with the Raiders because they're picking, what'd you say, 6th?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. So highly unlikely, but I saw that. I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's where the Raiders are looking.
Well, I think the whole Sanders, how much influence does he have in this draft? I think a ton. I think an absolute ton. Does Deion Sanders want his son playing for Brian Callahan?
No. And furthermore, do you want him in New York? Do you want him with a lame duck head coach and a GM who are going to be on the hot seat day one? I mean, what kind of pressure are you putting on the kid day one to win? I mean, you're looking at the season like Caleb Williams had, right? Too much pressure.
Okay, so teams that could draft Shedeur Sanders, Tennessee certainly right at the top of the list. Cleveland. Yeah, they should.
Does Deion want his kid going to play in Cleveland?
Hard for me to imagine that.
Tough.
Hard for me to imagine.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fascinating.
Oh, the Giants are fascinating too.
I'm not wishing the season to end, but that is going to be a fascinating thing to watch during the offseason here. But the pre-draft process and the way things shift around and whether or not Tennessee stays at 1 or trades out of 1, I would imagine they're staying at 1.
They hire as a GM.
Who do they hire as a GM and who gets hired where? I mean, it's going to be a fun offseason to kind of watch unfold before our very eyes. So there's some of the bigger headlines from around the NFL today as we prepare for Wild Card Weekend, which gets underway Saturday afternoon. The Texans hosting the Chargers, a tradition unlike any other, with Houston in that Saturday 4:30 window.
That's kind of funny there. So seeing that. We talked to Cody Rourke, Mile High Sports Locked On Broncos podcast on last hour, and I always find these conversations beneficial because we come out of it thinking a little clearer about the opponent. And they threw up a graphic on ESPN. Can the Broncos use the screen game, which they do a ton of, against Buffalo? I just don't see this Bronco offense matching Josh Allen and the Bills offense point for point. I came out of that conversation thinking, all right, it's a Bills win, but by how much this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, the screen game thing is interesting. I mean, I could see that being a way to take advantage of the Bills' lack of speed. If you can't get to the outside, or if you can't get to the edge or the boundary quick enough for a screen to the outside, yeah. Do you have the speed if you're the Broncos? Aside from Mims, I don't know that you do. Mims is fast.
Mm-hmm.
Sutton has length and physicality. And Nix is, I don't want to say he's going to be a problem, but you can't just say, oh, rookie quarterback. Well, he's a rookie quarterback. He's a pretty good season. Now, Sean McDermott has had his way against rookie quarterbacks. So I guess it's a long way of saying I'm with you. I believe it'll be a double-digit win for the Buffalo Bills, but would you be surprised if it's a close game? Would you be surprised if the Bills have to mount some sort of comeback, or if this game went into overtime? I still go back to what we said earlier in the week, which is I think the closest comp you can come up with is this is like the Colts playoff game that we kind of forget about. Like
Phillip Rivers had the ball in plus territory down by 6.
Right.
That's final play of the game. Okay, that's it.
We held our breath for a long time in that game, and we don't talk about that game because I think that there's a little PTSD with that associated with that game. Like, we won, but man, that was a little too close for comfort. And maybe that's what this game is too. We shouldn't be surprised if it is.
Dude, that's how most playoff games should be.
Right.
Like, if you think about this era of Buffalo Bills football, I'm not talking about the losses, but the wins have been kind of hot. And you could say, well, Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins kept it close. Sure, I guess by the final margin. But
did you ever feel at any moment of that game that they were going to lose to Skylar Thompson?
No,
even though it was close. Like, there was never a moment where I'm like, the Bills are going to lose this game. Never.
No, and the Steelers had some points at the end last year. No, that wasn't going to happen. It's like when the Bills get to the postseason, they win, it's their day.
And if they lose, when they do lose,
it's close,
it's usually
like,
in spectacular fashion. Like, what? Who blew that call? Why are there only 8 men on the field? What's going on? What happened? It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't get here soon enough. We'll have the action for you on the Fan Rochester with kickoff just after 1. Pregame gets underway Sunday morning at 9. And Sal and the gang pregame, and also Chris Brown and Eric Wood with your call just after 1 here on the Fan.
Talk about a playoff game. The last playoff game before the drought started, that was the Music City Miracle. I don't know if you saw this note, but I forgot that Frank Wycheck, a big part of that game there, part of home run throwback, the tight end, like he tripped and fell and lost his life.
Passed away
last year.
Yeah.
At the age of 52.
Yep.
Well, I know. The story today coming out of Tennessee is that indeed he did have CTE.
So they studied his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you study the brain of most NFL players, I think you would find that that's probably prevalent, right? I hate that story.
We witnessed our father becoming increasingly isolated and experiencing drastic mood swings. He became more impulsive and undependable.
This is from the family of Frank Wycheck?
Mm-hmm.
Man, see, you mentioned his age, and I know somebody who's celebrating a milestone birthday this weekend and really don't like thinking about it. Because now I think to myself, 52, man, that's too young. And I mean, I haven't taken a trip down the stairs in a while.
Just send the girls. What are they doing for you this weekend?
No idea.
What do you mean you have no idea?
No idea.
What's happening on Sunday?
Don't know.
You were going to sit down and be a king and watch football?
I mean, I'd be happy with that, but I don't know what they have planned. I have no idea. I know Monday night I'm going out with the boys.
Okay.
Monday night I might be on one. We are a little local hole in the wall watching some wild card football between the Rams and the Vikings. So I might be a little worse for the wear on Tuesday, Gino. I'll warn you now.
Mm-hmm.
But this weekend, I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea what they have planned. And I'm hoping it's nothing extravagant because I don't really want to draw more attention to it, even though I just brought it up live on the air. So let's Let's get to a round of shots.
Yeah,
Gino.
let's do that. As we do have college football tonight, we do have Sabres hot. I can't believe we went the whole show yesterday without bringing them up, but they are playing tonight.
The S word.
Yeah. We will give you an update on what's happening out in California, how it impacts the sports world, and oh yes, do you know what next Tuesday is, Mike Danger?
January 14th.
A little more specifically, it's the Super Bowl for baseball, Ryder.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yes, and we'll give you an update on that.
All right. Also, programming note, tomorrow, 3:25, Buffalo Bills legend of the game for Sunday's game, former Bills defensive tackle Kyle Williams stopping by the sports bar. Are you ready for that?
What do we ask him? Are you nervous, Kyle?
I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for that conversation. That's tomorrow afternoon, 3:25. A round of shots next on The Fan.
You're listening.
Injury report pretty clean for the Buffalo Bills. Brandon Connerington limited today. Jamarcus Ingram once again excused for a personal reason. As far as the Broncos, Josh Allen breaking it down.
It's a team that came in here last year and they beat us. We know that. We understand that. It's a very good team. They're well coached. Their defensive line is one of the best in the league. They got a couple guys outside that can absolutely go. Obviously, look at Surtain, one of the best corners in the game. We're going to have our hands full.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. The kickoff at 1 o'clock. Semifinal in college football tonight. Penn State facing Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Tonight at 7 on The Fan. It's the Sabres who look to make it 2 in a row. Buffalo taking on Ottawa north of the border. Lakers-Charlotte game in L.A. tonight postponed due to the wildfires. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Do you think Patrick Surtain takes all that personally? Or does it even matter? Everybody mispronounces his name.
I think they're trolling him.
You think so?
I think there's some troll to Josh Allen's game. I think he's trolling him. I mean, look, I think when his old man was in the league, everybody was calling him Surtain. And it was only until like late in his career where it started to be pronounced Surtain. But yeah, I think it's a troll job. That said, I don't want Josh Allen throwing in his direction.
No, don't do that. No reason to. Look, you have a diverse attack here. All right. So, hey, actually, Amari Cooper's on the other side. Great. Fantastic.
Right.
The Orange Bowl. It was always on New Year's night following the Rose Bowl. The college football playoff brings us to town north of Miami tonight. Even the over-under on this, Danger, it's set really low, 45.5. It still may go under. Why? Both these defenses rank in the top 10 in the nation in scoring defense. Notre Dame allows just 13.6 points per game. That's second in the country. Penn State allowing 15.8 points per game. That's seventh. 7:30 tonight on ESPN.
All right. I have thoughts on this game. First, I still can't believe after watching them beat Georgia that Notre Dame actually lost earlier this year to Northern Illinois. It still blows my mind that happened.
Northern Illinois, where are they going now? Mountain West, I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, they really?
Yeah,
they're leaving the MAC.
Yeah, they're bolting. So
wow.
Well, they earned them an invitation. By the way, if you haven't heard, UB beat Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat Georgia. UB Bulls.
SEC champs.
Correct.
Yeah, champions of the SEC, the UB Bulls. Penn State always feels like they fall apart in these kind of games, right? James Franklin can never rise to the occasion, and they never win the big game. Yet they find themselves here in a pretty big game against an opponent that they can beat. Like, Penn State can win this game. They can beat Notre Dame. I just don't know that they're going to do it.
Who has the better coach? When I saw Freeman run that 11 guy off, 11 guy on, and Kirby Smart didn't have his defense ready and was complaining that rule shouldn't be. No, that's a rule, and he took advantage of it, and your guys weren't ready. And it burned another 5 minutes off the clock. And thinking, boy, Mike Freeman, great coach. Tyson Kozak goes up for the Sabres. Buffalo tonight playing at Ottawa. Kozak filling in for Yuri Kulik. Kulik week to week with a lower body injury after leading the Amerks in scoring each of the last 2 years. Kulik has been helping out in the NHL a little bit more this year, having scored 5 goals in his past 14 games. Buffalo coming off a win. Coverage begins at 7 tonight on The Fan.
Feels like a loss.
You're like Kermit, just kind of sipping your coffee.
Yeah. Feels like I'm sipping coffee because it's 47 degrees in our studio. I'm trying to stay warm. It's got to keep the pipes nice and warm. You know what I'm saying, Gino?
Yeah. Lance Isowski he traveled by train from Buffalo to Ottawa, which you go north of the border.
I like that.
Well, and when I went up to Toronto, similar experience. Like, Union Station is terrible. Like, you would think they would label what track you're on and everything. He was lucky to get on, what he told me.
So Union Station in
Toronto. They're not very communicative when it comes to your train is on this track. It's really kind of, you got to know the number of the train coming in. So if you're an out-of-towner, it's really kind of tough.
I'm a big train guy. I like trains, Gino. Big train guy. Did the L last time I was in Chicago from O'Hare to downtown. Loved it. $5. $5. And I'm like, why would I take an Uber ever again?
Yeah.
I'm taking the train. And if you're telling me that I am going to take a train to go to a city, I'm taking the train. I like the train.
Maybe I got to try the train. Try a little
big train guy. Like the train to New York City. Big train guy.
Two of the regulars on the sports bar are doing okay in L.A. Michael F. Florio comes on with us Tuesdays, Talk Fantasy, posted some pictures online of all the smoke around his home. Danger, I did reach out last night to Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period. He's just outside the evacuation zone. Did mention there's a smaller fire that broke out 5 miles from his home. So that was as of last night. The Laker game tonight against Charlotte has been postponed. The NFL has a contingency plan if the Vikings-Rams game can't be at SoFi on Monday night, and it's going to be played in Arizona.
That's funny. Yesterday they didn't say anything about it. So this contingency plan just in the last 24 hours they came up with this.
It was last night they came up with it.
Last night. Okay.
Yeah. So which if they're putting this out there now, all right. So,
they're just laying the groundwork for this game to be played in Arizona. I wonder what that crowd is like.
It'll sell out. I'm sure it will, but it will just be kind of
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, are you getting the same fans in Arizona? If you're in LA, are you making the trek? If you're a Rams fan, are you making the trek?
Well, maybe does the guy who screams incessantly "Whose house" make the trek out to Arizona?
Yeah, you don't like that? That's not something that's good. Grumpy Al Michaels talking about the guy who screams "Whose house?" Oh, I got Grumpy Al here somewhere. I don't have it. But yeah, I also think if here it is.
It's hard to tell what the crowd is right now. I think mainly Raiders a little bit, but you have a PA announcer here who incessantly screams "Whose house?" and he wants them to say, well, no, I hate it. He wants to say, he wants them to say Rams house, but as far as the Raiders are concerned, well, this is kind of like their Airbnb.
Kirk Herbstreit, ever the optimist. I like it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, okay, Grumpy Al. Very good.
That's the brilliance of Herbstreit, just pushing a button there.
No, I like it.
Eliciting the response.
What are you talking about? Oh, I hate it. Let me another thing about vegetables. I'm offended by them. Grumpy Al Michaels.
So, yeah, we'll find out maybe as soon as this weekend if that game's going to get moved. Very exciting day coming up. Tuesday, January 21st.
Oh.
For Baseball Writer, we will find out who's going into the Hall of Fame. Now, unlike MVP voting in the NFL, where voters are sworn to secrecy, votes for the Baseball Hall of Fame, voters for the Baseball Hall of Fame have the option of telling who they voted for. And 30% of the ballots have been revealed so far. Ichiro is at 100% of the ballots so far.
Oh, love some Ichiro. Baseball Writer loves Ichiro. Played the game the right way.
Absolutely.
Played the game the right way.
It's something, Danger, where getting on base and that sort of brand of baseball, it's a shame that Ichiro
played the game the right way.
Ichiro would become only this is the part that drives me crazy. Only the second player ever to get 100% of the vote.
Jeez.
Mariano Rivera being the only one. Okay. Derek Jeter, not 100%. Cal Ripken, not 100%. Who is the voter? Like, nope. You're
not on my ballot.
No.
Didn't play the game the right way. Don't like him.
You turned down an interview one time in Philadelphia. Yeah. Therefore,
bad guy.
Others that are trended toward getting in, they needed 75%. CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Carlos Beltran.
This field, this game, it's part of our past, Ray. It reminds us all of what was once good and could be again.
A game of
Ichiro played the game it was supposed to be played.
Say that again, I'm going to sue you, Danger.
No.
Not doing
Hold on. Let me see if I can get it to character. This field, this game, Ray, it's all part of our past. It reminds us all of what was once good and what could be good again, except if I fell down the stairs of the dugout, I fell on my ass pipe. My shoes fell off, and then CC Sabathia beat me with the bat, a wiffle bat.
He beat me about the head, breast, and chest, and neck, and ass pipe, and it hurt me, and he was very rude to me. And I don't like that baseball writer either. He's very mean, too. I'm going to sue him. I'm going to sue everybody. Punitive damages. It's the one constant through all the years, Ray. It's punitive damages.
Finally, if I say this name, chances are you'll have some thoughts. Here you go. Angel Reese. Well, to her credit, she knows how to build a brand. It's not basketball season in the WNBA, but Reese is taking advantage of the time. She's on the cover of Vogue this month, wearing a red dress. It's very tasteful. Now, the trolls online saying that, well, she's covering up too much. Well, she responded by posting a photo on Insta of her on New Year's Eve. Let's just say that Reese's Angels were left out there for all to see.
Yeah. Okay. Good for her, I guess. I don't know. I mean, what is she's Angel Reese is Chicago, right? She's
correct.
second year. Who's the one that's in Vegas that set the scoring record? Do we know? Oh, I'm thinking of Asia.
Yeah.
So I got confused. Okay, so Angel Reese, this is her brand. Her brand is I'm the Dennis Rodman, I'm the villain. She's embracing that role of the NBA.
She is
WNBA.
doing it great. And for anybody that gets upset, and if you think there's some really mean rivalry there, I think the point is, could you ever imagine a women's basketball player on the cover of Vogue at all?
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe it's been done. Somebody could point that out, but
yeah, I just think when you talk about the trolls and the people that go after her, Gina, you came into my office earlier today and you wanted to talk about what we were going to do on the show, and I got so dialed into what I was doing work related, like I was staring at my screen, working. I hadn't looked at my phone in like 4 hours, and it was great. It was great.
Try that. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Try it off. Yeah.
If you're somebody that feels like you have to make a comment about Angel Reese on the cover of Vogue, maybe log off. Just maybe log off. You might find happiness elsewhere. Oh, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but man, I was disconnected for a good solid 2.5, 3 hours. I had text messages from people that had no idea were texting me. Bo, our brand manager, reached out, hey, call me when you get a chance. I looked, I'm like, oh, Christ, that was like 2 hours ago. I feel horrible. But it was awesome. Log off. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. I know we always joke here in the sports bar that takes are currency, but you don't need to have a take on Angel Reese on the cover of Vogue. If you feel like you have to troll her on that, then I would check yourself. Maybe log off.
All right. I'll sneak in a soccer note. Marta, not retiring. 2 more years with Orlando.
Really?
Yeah. So
she is 73 years old.
She's not 73.
She was 40 when she played in Rochester.
She's 38 now. Which, if she's 38 now, okay, she was 25.
She was, but she was considered old when she was here, wasn't she?
Yes, and she was like the best in the world. We had her right here.
Everybody thought, oh, she's over the hill, she's washed, but we got her in Rochester. But she's still the best in the world at 25, and now she's 38, and she's still getting after it. Good for her.
They go for like. How many hundreds of millions now? Those women's soccer franchises.
Oh yeah,
we had one of them.
Yeah,
totally missed the boat.
Yeah, I think we didn't miss the boat. I think we didn't have deep enough pockets. I think that when it comes down to it, it's an investment, and the people that when you hear like Natalie Portman is invested in a soccer team, it's like okay, that's the kind of wealth that a lot of people in this region probably struggle to keep up with.
Yeah, that and where the stadium was, maybe. I don't know.
Might have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, come back. Last call is next. You can have the final word in the sports bar when you join us at 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. We close up shop and tell you who's stopping by the sports bar tomorrow next on The Fan. Shame on us. I mean, these have been out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had any hot artist rendering talk in the sports bar. New renderings of the Bills' new $2.1 billion Highmark Stadium?
What's this behind the strap? Why didn't they kind of do this? The one I'm looking at here is the 360 here, the concourse and everything else.
Yeah, where you can see the field no matter where you are in the concourse.
That's how all stadiums should be, right?
When you get up, you want to be able to kind of turn around and see what's going on the field,
yes,
right?
you feel connected.
Yeah. You know what? I guess, well, look, when you travel around and you get to go to different NFL stadiums, I guess you get good ideas, and that's certainly a good idea. I remember earlier this year when I went to Soldier Field, our seats were on the level where if you got up and went to the concessions, you could still see what was going on the field. And I like that. That was I felt like I didn't miss anything. No, I think we need to have some hot snow melt conversation here. I mean, like
I've read all about
roof,
that. Yeah, the roof
can handle 7 feet of snow, which you're gonna need. You're gonna need to have this multi-million-dollar snow melt system on the roof, save it collapse underneath all the weight of the snow that gets dumped in Orchard Park.
So where does all that water go then? I get the idea that you're going to melt it real quick as soon as it hits, boom. But I guess
you've got drainage.
Great drainage.
Yeah.
Some hot drainage talk here in the sports.
Yeah. I appreciate that they're getting this out there. What's the reason for them getting out these hot new artist renderings of Highmark Stadium, Gene? What do you think is going on?
Okay, wait a second.
I mean, we got the team in the postseason. Check.
Yeah, check.
Lots of enthusiasm around the team. Check.
I would say probably Super Bowl expectations at an all-time high here. Yeah, this looks like really exciting. This make me want to think about getting a ticket. Oh, and I guess you got to pay for that PSL too. Yeah. Well, look, it's beautiful. It's once in a lifetime. And this team's really good. Did I mention that?
Yeah. You mean to tell me there's a strategy behind when they released these hot new artist renderings?
Everything is a strategy.
Oh.
You know how many season ticket holders have
I thought they were just trying to inform us that this is what it's going to look like again.
That's why the stories of, hey, everything is pacing really poorly for PSL sales. Yes and no. They're only going with the really high price stuff. If you sit in the rock pile, they haven't reached out to you yet. If you sit in the upper deck at Highmark, the one we're currently in, they haven't reached out to you yet. Like, they only want to take care, make sure all the money seats. The other ones, they'll go,
They're chasing bag.
Yeah.
They're chasing the bag. They want the deep pockets. They want to get those seats filled. And then they'll worry about you, then they'll worry about the peasantry.
Yeah, so that's coming. That's what this is about. A little taste here. But have you seen these like neon Bills logos in the concourse too? That's really.
Oh, it looks beautiful. It all looks epic. We're in for a treat, and y'all don't understand. Like, if you've only been to Highmark Stadium, you don't know what you're missing.
Since I'm kind of strange like this, I went through the artist renderings, and I could only pick out 3. Because they have the fake fans walking around, and they're wearing the fake Bills jerseys.
Oh.
Only 3 Buffalo Bills are mentioned here. Of course, 17.
Uh-huh. You mean, okay, from the fake artist rendering, or the artist rendering fake fans.
Fake fans.
That they've drawn into the artist renderings, and you can actually see the jerseys being worn by the fake fans.
Fake fans.
17. So
17.
Allen is one.
Allen's one. You want to take a guess at the other 2?
Okay. I'm going Dalton Kincaid.
No.
Greg Rousseau.
No. Remember, not under contract. Pretty soon.
Right. So it's got to be somebody.
One I'm thinking, okay, yes, this guy will be in. And the other I think is up for debate whether this guy actually makes it into the new stadium. If that's a hint.
So they have to be under contract for 2026.
Yes.
Okay.
And your hint here is, okay, one for sure, barring injury. The other, I think it's debatable.
Tyler Bass.
No, not Tyler Bass.
Just tell me, because I'll...
Deion Dawkins, who I think for sure will be the left tackle.
Yeah.
The other one, Matt Milano.
I was going to say Milano.
Which he's here next year, but...
Yeah, I was going to say Milano, but and I guess, okay, fan favorite. Everybody loves Matt Milano, even though he never speaks. We've never heard Matt. Matt Milano could sound like Patrick Mahomes. We wouldn't know.
No, he doesn't like to do interviews, and he's not going to give you anything. No,
we wouldn't know. Matt Milano could sound like James Earl Jones. Matt Milano could be the voice of Darth Vader, and we wouldn't know.
He sounds like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, yeah, we would not know. Okay, well, there you go. There's your hot artist rendering talk in the sports bar for today. The Bills releasing more images of what the planned $2.1 billion Highmark Stadium will look like.
I just spotted another. It's like a Where's Waldo. I see a 40 out there. Oh, Von Miller's not on this team when they're in the new stadium. No, he's gone.
Yeah, but right now, if you're looking at the renderings, like, hey, Von Miller, he's a star. We pay him a lot of money.
I'll ask you the question that Matt Perino put out here in our closing minute, being, hey, if the Bills win the whole thing, who's the Buffalo Bill not named Josh Allen that had the biggest part in it? Fate said it's James Cook.
Christian Benford.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about, like, when you look at, like, past Super Bowls and MVP winners of past Super Bowls, if it's not a quarterback, it's always like a random, like, defensive back.
Well, see, then Rasul Douglas he's great at takeaways. So
Sure.
somebody like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Or you could say Greg Rousseau just woke up and exploded and had 3 sacks and a strip sack and a fumble recovery, something like that, maybe. But yeah, I like the idea of it being a defensive guy making a play or making multiple plays. And if you're going to test Christian Benford more than once or twice in a game, maybe he makes you pay. So he said James Cook. That's pretty good too. That feels like fairly chalky. I mean, of course, Josh Allen,
but the point being though that's actually the guy you're going to need to kind of co-pilot here the offense.
Right. Yeah, for a second I thought Mac Hollins. Like Mac Hollins just explodes and has a 2-touchdown game, something like that.
Is America ready for Mac Hollins?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, we kind of, for as weird as it was when we first met him and learned of him at training camp, I think we've all kind of embraced the weirdness, right?
He's the ideal number 5 wide receiver on this team.
Fantastic. And he shows up and he makes plays when you need him to make plays. He's just a weirdo, but he's our weirdo. We've taken him in. Great show today. Lots of fun. Cody Rourke from Mile High Sports and the Locked On Broncos podcast shared more about the Denver Broncos when he joined us earlier today. Also, Dan Fates, 13 Web Sports, Buffalo Plus. Stop by in the 3 o'clock hour. A little preview of the matchup and practice report from Fatesy. If you missed either of those conversations, find them now wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar and you will find Danger and Battaglia. Back tomorrow with Kyle Williams, Buffalo Bills legend, stopping by at 3:25. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night.
You're listening to the Bar with Danger and Battaglia.